You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now. Aloha, my friends.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. How's our
Good.
sound? My sound sounds a little. Hello, hello. I guess just my headphones.
Yeah, I think it's just
We
your
good? We good?
headphones. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Good morning.
You're loud and ready to talk.
Cheers.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Wow.
Oh,
Happy Saturday. Every day is a blur.
You just skipped the best part of the week.
I
That would
know.
be horrible.
That would be
If it
terrible.
was Monday right now.
Well, it's another day. Another day. Another day. So how are you doing? How was your week?
I was sick all week.
Yes, you were. So you were.
Miami was awesome.
Miami was so much fun. We went
But,
to LibertyCon, for those that don't know, last week, Friday and Saturday. It was a lot of fun.
But as always, it was kind of intense. Came home with a cold. Didn't get on the plane, obviously.
Probably. It's okay.
They should bring back those masks. I want everybody wearing masks on the planes. I don't want to be getting colds. Just kidding, guys.
Just kidding. Is he kidding, guys? I'm not sure.
I hate the planes though, like sitting next to people and like it's so crammed in there.
It is. I mean,
You
it's
have
a
no
plane,
personal
though.
space, and it's the most uncomfortable thing. We
Well, yeah,
really need
economy
to get to
is like that.
yeah, but it's like exponentially more expensive, right? How much is business class compared to?
I mean, it's a little bit more, and then if you keep moving up for the first class,
might
then
be
it's a lot
worth
more.
it to, like,
Well, it
move
depends
up
on where you're
business
going,
class.
I guess.
You know, let me show it as an expense.
Maybe
Business
next
travel.
time. I mean, yeah, it would be really nice, but you know, well, I guess we'll see
We'll
for
get
the
there.
next trip.
Well, Monero hits $1,000, guys.
There you go. Here's to hoping.
But yeah, Miami was awesome. We hung out with Tony.
Yes, we did. Our internet friend. It was a lot of fun. He helped us out during the conference, and then we also hung out throughout the weekend. It was also Doug's birthday on Saturday. So
Yeah.
that was fun. Last
We
Saturday.
partied it up.
Partied it up.
Hung out with a few Monero people.
Yes. Oh, yeah. People from the Monerotopia conference.
Mhm.
One person.
Well, yeah, it was just one person.
Yeah, it was one person. Well, it was a last minute meetup. So
last
people
minute.
were
There was four
running
of
to go
us.
hang out
We
with
were
us.
a group. We were a crew.
We were a crew, and
Yeah.
it was a fun crew. It was a more intimate crew.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yes, we did. And we said, you know, Monero to some people at the bar too.
Oh yeah, guys, we were hooking up people with Monero all over the place, not just at the conference, right?
Yeah, it was all over the place,
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah.
literally. At Muscle Beach, at a bar, at another bar.
Yeah, we're not just talking like the bartenders at the bar. We're talking like patrons that were next to us at the bar, right? We had them downloading cake wallets and
Yeah.
sending them some Monero. It's what you got to do, guys. It's how it happens. What were some of the better ones? Muscle Beach was pretty cool. Like coconut.
Oh yeah, the
water
coconut
guy.
water. Then we did. Oh, we also gave tips to the people on the beach, the margarita, the drinks.
Drink people.
Yeah.
Which
we paid
gets
in Monero.
Which gets to our other topic, right?
Which
Monerotopia 23.
23. Woo! We're working on it, guys.
We did some recon down there. We checked out another venue. We went back to last year's venue as well. I don't know.
So it's in the works.
We were very much leaning towards Miami once we left because we talked to a lot of people.
We got and then at the conference we got a lot of vendors that are interested in
a lot of potential. And we got vendors from LibertyCon. So like this, I bought.
It's pretty cool.
I paid Monero for it. We got them.
Yeah, we got it. We paid in Monero. It's John McAfee. Yeah. Ooh.
Be ungovernable.
Ooh. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's really
She does
nice.
it for
And they're going to come to Monero. If you do it in Miami, they're going to come to Monerotopia. They'll make custom versions of these. We'll make some cool, like, Monero ones.
And then beer. Remember the Liberty beer? We obviously don't have the beer here, but that was pretty good beer. They're also interested in being vendor too.
Liberty
Again,
Beer, who we also paid with Monero, they'll come and vend and sell their beer for Monero. Coconut water guy, he'll just be walking throughout the venue just so you can,
and
at any moment.
Pina colada guy.
Pina colada guy also be walking throughout, just selling them on the go.
And we paid in Monero on the beach.
What other vendors did we line up? There were some other.
There were, who else? We had who else was it?
Coconut water guy sells other things too, by the way. So, but we'll have plenty of those options. I thought there was somebody else from LibertyCon. Who else did we get from LibertyCon?
I know, I'm trying to go through it in my head. I mean, we just met so many people.
Well, those were really the only two vendors at LibertyCon that were actually selling things. Most of the other
we're just like, we had
people working on
like foundations,
Liberty projects.
Liberty projects.
And a
people
lot of those
for Liberty, they said they're gonna be joining us too, which we kind of joined them during Freedom Fest 22. So a lot of Lola. We met Lola. They're gonna come and
Ladies of Liberty.
Ladies of Liberty. I mean, there are a few other like tables per se that we're gonna join us. So that should be fun. So we're gonna have a lot more vendors and a lot more tables.
Yeah, definitely.
Talking about like their projects.
So we're trying to decide, two things. One, if we do it in Miami, are we doing it at the Miami Women's Club again? Or are we doing it at this new venue, which is just as close to the Bitcoin Conference Center? It's larger. It's like a little awkward and
It's an interesting place.
Like Miami's Women's Club's got a cool like grassroots vibe. This is more like it feels like
venue,
a wedding venue, but it's cool.
It was cool. Has lots of different little rooms,
and it's big.
It's huge.
That one we don't want to be like too big, right? And then we don't.
Oh, Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh yeah, we talked to Wu-Tang Clan apparently. We got him to accept Monero on the spot, and he said he would come perform
or try to figure out if
we could potentially book him.
So that's.
But we're trying to figure out who this guy really is, right?
I think he's connected to
anybody that has really good Wu-Tang Clan knowledge.
Please reach out because we want to
reach out or jump up today. We're trying to understand Wu-Tang Clan better. I just remember they had some good songs back in the day, but apparently
there was
the group is very large. So to say you're a part of Wu-Tang, right?
Has to be. I don't know how large it goes, but we know the main people. But
he looked legit. He looked like an artist. So that was cool.
So we're at Roots and Clan ain't nothing to F with. This is true. So I mean, it would be pretty cool if we can actually get them to perform. He seemed pretty open.
He was super. He's
chill connected
dude.
somehow.
We had a good talk about Monero. I think we even caught it on video, right? We'll post some of it up.
We'll post some of it up. We're gonna do like a mashup of all our videos and conversations we had throughout the weekend. Right now we have 2 interviews, Dr. Wolf Van Leer, which is up now. And then we also interviewed Lynn Ulbrich, mother of Ross Ulbrich. So stay tuned for those interviews.
People on Twitter, there was a conversation going on. People were we're talking about whether or not Monero should, we're marketing it correctly. Like we should be going to these Liberty conferences and focusing our efforts there. And obviously, I think it makes complete sense. Like, what's your opinion given that we've been doing this, right?
I think it's a good thing that we do go out there because
everybody,
some people don't know about it and some people do but just don't know much about it, and then when they hear they can get $10 worth of Monero courtesy of Cake Wallet and Monero.com wallet, we did that. People they're like, oh cool. So you get a mix of people.
We got 30 people to download. And really, that's just a matter of there's just a bottleneck because each person, it's like at least a 10-minute conversation.
Oh my God,
it's not like it's not like we asked 1,000 and only 30. It's like we asked, 35 and we got 30. The rate is pretty good, the conversion rate, because you're at a Liberty conference, so it's like they most of them already know about crypto. A lot of them are gold bugs. Some of them, like, we've said this before, some of them are gold bugs to the point where they want nothing to do with crypto. And obviously you have like some that are BTC maxi, but even a BTC maxi isn't really saying no to Monero. Like they'll be like, yeah, sure. Or unless it's like, oh, it's only $10. I don't want to waste my, like maybe that, but pretty much everybody's
pretty open. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's a good group, their philosophies, that, the philosophies that crew has. Although we've come across some people where I'm like trying to understand why they're at a Liberty conference, right?
Yeah. They were, yeah, it was
Like, I'm like, do I just not understand Liberty? Like,
oh yeah, with
like,
that table with
yeah,
Tony.
What was the name of that group?
I don't remember. It was like economic something.
Yeah, some economic liberty group, and like they had a card, and one of the things they stood for was sound money, and we get into this whole conversation. We didn't even bring up Monero, like we let them just do their pitch, and then they kind of picked up on the fact that we had something to sell.
Yeah, it was a back and forth conversation for like 20 minutes, and then
once we started talking about Monero,
it was just kind of like
they got so defensive. Right?
Yeah,
that was an odd one. And they were big BTC maxis. I guess that's the explanation.
Yeah, but
and they were opposed to the anonymous nature of Monero, to the fact that it was digital cash. This one woman I was speaking to, right?
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. I'm like, I was trying to understand what her philosophy was. Like, I didn't really understand what her logic was. And I even asked her if she wanted to come on a Monero talk or do a Monerotopia, because would love to explore that, right? Like the philosophy, the ethics of it. I obviously personally believe it's the ethical thing to do, to head in this direction to where the world can transact freely without censorship. But I would love to better understand the opposing side. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I leading us to dystopia? Is it a bad thing if we're all using Monero in the future?
Yeah,
all signs point to positive for me. Open and free society, preserving our liberty in the digital age, and this woman just wasn't having it. She saw it in a completely different way. So I love coming across those types, and
then the conversation.
But they don't they don't want to engage. I want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. I'm like, I want to understand.
You're passionate on your side. They're passionate on their side, and it's just kind of like,
yeah,
you both aren't seeing each other's side. Because
did we get her contact? We need to get her.
Oh God, clearly,
as a speaker at Monerotopia
since that day.
I want her to be the MC of Monerotopia.
The MC of Monero. Oh God.
Just be bashing it the entire time.
Tony, legend has it that AMASH is still talking to the students. That was funny.
So yeah, guys. So we got big decisions to make.
We do.
The other positives at keeping it at the same venue is we'll get the rooms right across the street.
Yeah,
the Tradewind
those
Hotel.
were, and hopefully we get like a decent deal.
Yeah, we'll get
a
decent deal considering it's Miami and during Bitcoin. I think because it's early enough and we know them now. It's the same people that own the venue. So that would be a bonus.
And then
if have we like 25 rooms, right?
And then everyone
kind
of hangs out throughout the weekend,
right?
Which would be cool.
And
it's like right across. Yeah, really cool. It was a nice place.
And the rooms are like apartment style.
Yeah, so people can.
You could stay two people,
two, three people, depending how nice and cozy you guys want to be. But actually,
it's like one bedroom and then like a living room with a pull-out couch.
So yeah, which is not, and it's large. I mean, where we stayed, it was pretty large. I think a few people did stay in there, and they
nice
had
pool,
a nice experience. Yeah,
essentially.
And again, it's right across the street from the conference.
Yeah, so we could literally just be chilling. Like the conference would never end. Like people would slowly make their way back to across the street.
Instead of the one intense day, which everyone loves so much, we're gonna have a few. Well, the conference itself is gonna be.
And we could blow it up. We can make it big this year, guys. Oh, there was another guy I spoke to. I spoke to a taxi drive, a guy driving like a little electric,
the little carts. Yeah, there you go.
Mini taxi, open air taxi, kind of like a moped, right?
It was
more
of
a moped, but it holds like 4 people in the back. And he said we could hire him the day of the conference. Yeah. And it would be a Monero cab. So we'd have him like driving around Miami.
Crew carts.
Yeah, driving around Miami. We'd pay him per hour. And it would just be like a free ride that takes you to Monerotopia. We could have it like swinging by the Monero, just doing loops around the Bitcoin conference.
Oh, God.
People can jump in and they could come over.
Oh, we also met the photographer, but yeah, obviously people don't like their pictures being taken. But
Oh, the
the one we
photographer.
tipped at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was like 1 in the morning. She came over. She took a picture of us. And it was kind of like a scam thing. We're like, no, we don't need a picture. She had her nice camera. Like, no, thank you. She's like, no, it's free. We're like,
We're
all
like,
right. And then she walks
really?
around. We're like, all right, what's the scam? She's gonna come back with the free version and then a version she wants us to pay. And sure enough, that's what she did. And like the free version was like a pretty shitty picture, right?
I mean,
feel
it
like
wasn't the
she
best.
edited it to make it look even worse than it was. Like we were pale as ghosts. She was like, I have this one, it's free. And then she had these other pictures that they look very nice. But still we didn't want them.
Yeah, we didn't want
More
them.
so because of our pose, not because of
Yeah,
the
it was
picture.
just that we looked awkward. And
We looked
it was
awkward.
1 o'clock in the morning.
So we said no, but then we felt really bad because I mean this girl is putting in a lot of effort for this, right? That's a lot of effort.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort. Like talking.
And like even if she makes the sale, she's making $20 was like one of the things. So she's like effectively working for $20 every 3 hours. Like who knows?
Because how many people are saying yes?
I don't know. Unless it's a really good scam, but although I guess we ultimately fell for the scam, so it is pretty good.
Well, yeah,
because we felt bad. I think that is the scam that you feel bad. So then we called her over and we're like, listen, we don't want the photos. We're like, but can we give you a tip? She's like, oh sure. I was like, all right. I was like, do you know what Monero is? So we got her to download the Monero wallet and we sent her like $20 in Monero as a tip, or not 20 because that would have been the picture. We gave her like $10 or something. So that was cool too. And like she would be down to come to Monerotopia.
Yeah, she was.
But
Yeah,
it would be hard. She would get nobody to agree to take her. It would be funny to
it
just
would be
have her there.
funny. Well, we could have like a photo booth or
Everybody
something
would be like, no thanks.
with like this guy. We can figure it out so she's able to get something.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll figure it out. And yeah, then we paid for the banner in Monero again. Our Monero printing guy.
Oh yeah.
So that was.
Do you have that? Did you show that? People love that. The Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, the Klaus Schwab. But I mean, I gotta look for the picture. But
so that's what's going on, guys, in terms of Miami. Looking like the Miami Convention Center. I mean, Miami Women's Club. We're not there yet. And the other thing that came out of left field was Mexico, right? So we were always talking about Mexico as also an interesting location. We were considering doing it there, but then momentum moved towards Miami. But apparently there was a Twitter Spaces that happened the other night. We weren't a part of it. We were kind of a little too tired. We just didn't want to participate. But there was conversation there about Mexico being a good location and doing it alongside or before Anarchapulco, which is in February. So it would also be a different time. If we do it in Miami, that's
going to be in May
18th, around that time during Bitcoin. If you did it in Mexico, it would be like first weekend in February. And after that is Anarchapulco, which is a week. Anarchapulco is in Acapulco. If we did it in Mexico, we'd probably try to do it in like Mexico City or Guadalajara. But the idea is people could come there and then maybe they move on to Anarchapulco. So we could get some of the Anarchapulco crowd. We could get them to put the word out to their people that, Monerotopia is happening. So there's that. We haven't completely discounted it. Where Sunita.
Oh, just time.
It just felt good that we had a game plan when we left Miami.
Yeah, it's like we were fine.
We spoke to so many people.
Back and forth.
We're about to put the down payment for the venue.
And then boom, another.
But I don't want to discount it. So we're trying to talk to the crypto vigilante Raphael. They were at the conference last year. They ran the live version or whatever what are we calling it? The live feed, but
the virtual conference.
Yeah, the virtual. I guess it was a virtual conference, and Raphael ran it. So we'd have them back to do that. And so we're going to reach out to him because obviously he's big in Anarchapulco, and we'll figure out, right,
what the plan is. Yeah, basically.
If Mexico actually makes sense. So we haven't discounted it. But that brings me to, we want to hear from everybody else.
Idea, yeah.
Right. So we're gonna do a poll. We're not saying that we're gonna necessarily, we're gonna use this poll as one of the things we use to ultimately determine where we do it. It's not like whichever, if the poll all swings one way, then obviously that would weigh heavily in our decision. But ultimately, we're not, we are going to be the final decision makers, but we will take the poll into high consideration.
Yeah, it'll help us decide.
So we're gonna do it in a fun way. So we're gonna post 2 different Monero sub addresses. One will represent the Miami option. One will represent the Mexico option, and you have to send 0.01 Monero. It's like $1.40. And we'll see which one gets the most. Obviously, this is a good way to eliminate spam, because you're probably not going to want to spend $100 spamming to make your option come true. You got to have some skin in the game. $1.40, and you can participate in this poll
if you really care about where it's going to be.
And it's also, we know that we can't be spammed by people who aren't like even Monero users, because obviously you have to be a Monero user, otherwise you wouldn't be able to send the $1.40. So you want to do that right?
Yeah, I'll do that right now. Yeah. So here's the Miami address. We'll do them separately so people can kind of copy and paste. I'll also put them in the description, just so people can copy it from there. Here you go. Now this is the Mexico.
So send 0.01 Monero to your top choice.
So there you go. And I guess we'll see. In
Miami in May or Mexico in February.
Ooh la la. Ooh la la. Let's see what the people are leaning towards. And we can make a final decision on where we're going to do this.
This is cool because I'll be able to see votes as they
come in throughout the show. Look at that live.
I thought this was fun. Just another little crazy idea.
Another little crazy idea, guys.
Guess people use it Monero, and we'll donate the Monero to something, right? This isn't another scam like when we wanted to waste our valuable time and effort to throw a protest in New York, and some idiot called it a scam. So yeah, no, we're not trying to steal $50 from you guys. Just having fun. What do we want to do? Donate it to the CCS, or what should we do with the winnings?
We can
the winnings.
The winnings.
The poll funds.
The poll funds.
It's gonna be like. Well, maybe.
Oh, they can't copy paste in YouTube app.
Oh man, that's annoying.
I had to figure it. I don't know. Maybe in the Telegram group?
Yeah, drop it in the we're gonna drop it in the Telegram.
There you go. Let me do that then.
Whatever, we'll use it. We'll donate it for something. We'll let you guys know what we decide to do with that. But it'll be good. It'll be towards positive for Monero, obviously. What else we got?
Yeah. What else we got?
So guys, vote on that. Let's do it.
No. Posting in the Telegram group.
Another thing I bought with Monero. This was in New York, actually. Candle. Handmade candle. We went to a little open market in Brooklyn 2 weeks ago, and we started asking people if they would accept Monero. I told them that I want to bring a group of people down there. So thought is we're gonna do holiday Monero party where we could go out and spend Monero. So I'm trying to get a bunch of these vendors to accept. So yeah, I got this one. I mean, it's pretty much everyone I gotta get to accept. I have to buy something off of them, which is kind of funny. These are chocolates. I won't go into detail on all the ingredients on the.
What are these chocolates, Douglas?
But that was another vendor there. This is in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg. So I'm gonna probably go there again today. Try to talk to more vendors. And then we're going to do a little meetup here in New York where people can come out and spend their Monero. So I'll try to get like 10 vendors accepting. Right?
Yeah. Also,
another little side project.
Monerotopia.
What's going on over there?
I'm just letting everyone know because that I posted them.
Okay,
I
you put it in the Telegram?
Yeah, Telegram group.
Word. All right, guys. Yes, cast your votes.
Cast your votes, people. And Doug will be looking at them live. Let's see what people are leaning towards. And with that, I guess let's anything else you want to say?
No, let's move on
to the price segment, to our last price report by Mr. aFungible. We'll miss him. Thank you so much for, being with us for so long. But
he's live today, right?
He's live today.
Right,
yeah, he'll be here today.
We're gonna miss you.
All cry live. But with that, I guess let's move on. The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer. Hello.
Hi guys, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning, aFungible.
All right, and yeah, wish you a belated happy birthday, Doug.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been a year for me presenting, and just thought to pop in live on this final.
Yeah, man, you've been doing
last
a great
but
job.
not the least.
We're definitely gonna miss you. I think you're gonna be back. You'll be back during the next bull run. You're gonna want to come on, talk about it.
We never know. Sometimes priorities take over, and I'll be busy for the next few months. We will see.
It's a lot of effort. You're putting in a lot of effort here, so understandable that you don't have the time.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, this one I made it a little, special. I tried to put in content in such a way that there is some takeaway value at the end of it. So just let it be a surprise what I'm going to present. But well, before I want to present something about the gold standard and how the US dollar has come all this way to where we are today. But before that, back in 18th century, 19th century, or maybe it's like beginning of 20th century, we had around 195 countries using around 180 currencies, or that's how it is today. And what happened now, just going back to so this is like how the currency map looks like. And this is something I made, and I think it'll be useful. I just want to walk through each of these blocks, what really happened. So I want to start with the year 1873, where a lot of export and imports were happening between different nations all around the globe, US, Britain, and how the whole environment was that time. There was no standard for trade and commerce that time. And it was during this time that, just to bring the trade and commerce together, because there were so many different currencies being used and gold was, a sought after asset. So, nations generally decided that, okay, let us peg $1 to 1.504 grams of gold, or 1,000 US dollars is 1.5 kg. And what that would mean is all the countries would only be able to print as much fiat money as there is gold reserve for that particular country. So gold was sort of evenly distributed around the globe. Nobody really had the majority of that. Now look at what happened after that. So this is what happened with the story of fiat. So we were in the First World War, entering the First World War 1913 to 17. And during that phase, Britain and a lot of other European countries and a lot of other major countries, economies went into this World War I. And whereas US stayed on the sidelines, and it was during that time that UK's deficit, which was $600 million at the start of World War I, increased to $8 billion. And this is where the whole story starts. So just tune into this. This is interesting. So at the same time, US exports tripled to from $2.4 billion to something like $6 billion. And that is where they started, as US dollar was pretty much similar to gold in a way. So they started getting a lot of gold backing. So their reserves started increasing. And you fast forward this to the World War II, which was around this time. UK again played a great role in World War II. and their deficit increased from $600 million before the start of World War One to $21 billion at the end of World War II, which was 3 times the amount of GDP for that country. And at the same time, this is pretty interesting, and this is something I did not know before, that there was a lend lease agreement that US started with all the other countries, where they said, hey, we are not involved in this world war until the Pearl Harbor incident happened somewhere in, I think, 1941 or something, or 44 was it, where they started this lend lease agreement, where they said, listen, we're going to give you all the aircrafts, all the foodstuffs, all the tanks, vehicles, everything we're going to export to the world outside, and in return we want gold, because that is what, or we want US dollars or we want gold. So you can give us either one of them. And of course, people or the other countries did not have US dollar reserves that time, right? So what did they do? They started, in exchange of this, they started giving US gold, and that is where US got 3/4 of the world's gold reserves. So that was about 70% of the world's gold reserves was with the US in 1944. And so they had given a $50 billion of loan to 30 different countries. So we fast forward this to 1944. Just before that, we had this Great Depression in 1929. And that is when US said that citizens are not allowed to hold gold because they understood the value of gold. So that is where, again, they said, you can, we'll give you these fiat notes that we have printed in return of gold. So they had a lot of backing of gold. And that is where the economy also assured during that period. So you fast forward to 1944, what happens? There was a union of 44 different member states, because a lot of countries in the world were indebted to the United States. So that is where we have something called the Bretton Woods Agreement for International Trade, where they said that, okay, US dollar becomes like the global currency, world currency, and everybody agrees that one US dollar is this much amount of gold, and all the other currencies can be pegged to the US dollar. So that's why we have Euro USD, GBP USD, right? And also the question to ask is, what was the benefit that US got out of this? The benefit is that US dollar becomes more popular, everything is dealt with in US dollars, and they will also start getting a lot of gold. And that was also the initiation of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. And it was all based out of the US backed loans, and the IMF that we know of today is like giving loans to these developing countries and whatnot, is all US backed, all US backed by US dollars. And going forward, this is also an interesting thing. I think it was around 1944 that this happened, that well, Middle East was pretty much dry. They did not have too much. They did not even know that they had so much of oil. And that is the time when US, United States, and United Kingdom were the only two countries which had the technology for extracting oil from the ground. And so they went to Saudi Arabia. I think that time it was Richard Nixon as the president. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So he had an agreement with the Saudi king, Abdul Aziz, I guess, where they just gave the technology to Saudi Arabia for extracting the oil. But at the same time, Italy started bombing the Saudi fields that time. So in return for protection of their fields, they said to the United States that please help us protect our fields. And in return, the agreement was that all the oil that goes out from Middle East, from Saudi Arabia, can only be exchanged in US dollars. So that was another strengthening of US dollars. So that's what made US dollars like really popular. And then we have something called the OPEC, which we have heard of. It's the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries, where it was also decided that all the other countries in the world which exports oil will be dealt with in US dollars. And this is
that
where
was in 1960. Yeah, so then before that was like Johnson was president, right?
I believe so.
This is amazing, by the way, man. Keep going. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of gives you the whole picture, and I'm going to come back to why it kind of gets into cryptocurrency and how that is like the new age thing. So initially, the US had 25,000 tons of gold back like at the end of Second World War. And what happened, why we went off the gold standard in 1971, this is very interesting. So just listen up. So a lot of countries had, the reason also, why a lot of other countries, agree to the US dollars, because once their exports of other countries like United Kingdom or other countries, because all the gold was with the US, if they can get enough US dollars in exchange of gold, then those economies can start ushering all the other countries. And that is exactly what happened. All the other countries started exchanging their US dollars with this pot of gold. So their 70% gold reserve started reducing from 25,000 tons to 10,000 tons, and that is what really got US worried. And this is the time, I think it was who was the president in 97? Richard Nixon, was it? Or
Yeah, he's the
um,
one that took us off the gold standard.
yeah. So it was 1944. It was Roosevelt, I think. Yeah. So, anyways, Nixon got us off the gold standard, and he says, "Hey, overnight speech. Sorry, no more US dollar with gold. So there is no backing of the US dollar, and we got off." And this is the pain point that happened, because that is where they started this US Treasury bonds, where they can just get money from the investors, and they promised to give us like 4% or 5%, and all the things that we hear today, increase in interest rate and volatility. They can spend as much as they want. This is the pain point. And today, as we stand today, 2022, foreign countries hold about $7.4 trillion in US securities. And the problem we have with this is what's happening recently in Russia. They can freeze the assets. So they can just say, hey, we have a war with Russia. Listen, we're going to freeze $3 trillion of Russia in US securities. And that's going to be a pain point for Russia. And this is where we come to this, the Bitcoin standard as we speak today. I think, it's going to take time. We are still quite early in this, like 12, 13 years into this. Outside of this, I just want to say that Bitcoin has a couple of, one not so good feature on the right and one good feature on the left. Although, yes, privacy concern is a big thing for Bitcoin, as we know today. I think this was not really talked about like 3-4 years back when Bitcoin was still there. But this concern is going to grow and grow in the future, as I see. However, there is a fine balance where Bitcoin fits into our society, because although there is censorship resistance, government is also going to like its existence. And at the same time, it kind of gives us the property rights, like not your keys, not your coin. So you have your keys, you can still, hold this or migrate to some other country which has lenient laws. However, in case of Monero, I saw this, I just made this kind of equation or graph where theoretically or even practically, Monero or privacy currencies gives us a lot of property rights. However, it has zero government censorship, technically speaking. From what we know in mathematics, it cannot be broken. And government is going to do everything in its power to kind of suppress this, because what's happening with this cryptocurrency, crypto economy, is money is flowing out of this gold and all the standards. And if you fast forward, let's say 10 years from now, when digital economy is going to really grow, and that is the reason where they are bringing in regulations, they can see that, hey, all the money is going to flow into this crypto economy, which is already 1 trillion, can grow to, I don't know, 5 trillion, 10 trillion in the future. So yeah, so this is what I wanted to say. And having said that, I want to move to the second part, if I still have some time.
But what you're saying, Bitcoin has more of a balance between property. You're saying because they have the ability to effectively censor when needed.
No, I'm just saying that in the overall scheme of things, in the society that we live in, governments are not going to go anywhere in the foreseeable future. So out of all the currencies out there, they would like to have a currency which is traceable in a way, right? With all the tools and things.
Totally
So
agree.
it fits quite perfectly in the digital economy. Although it's not good, I don't like that, or people don't like that, but it fits. That's the, it kind of captures the sweet spot. Whereas for Monero, it's basically hardcore. It's libertarianism. It says that, listen, we want no censorship, zero censorship, and this is what we want. Well, it will still be around, but it will be, as time progresses, it all depends how this is seen in the society. So yeah, this is like a mixed question or a mixed answer, but this is what I see as of today.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I like that.
And if I have some more time, I just want to present the charts. Well, so as I just said about the US off the gold standard, the second part. So we got off the gold standard in 71, where the US national debt was what, around 400 500 billion dollars. So once we went off that, we in the 1970s, we started having a period of inflation in the US and also other countries because of that. Also, one more interesting thing is once US went off gold standard, all the other countries also went off gold standard. In fact, UK went off gold standard in something like 1931, where they had to fund the war. But US kind of stuck to its guns and said that, hey, we're not going to go out until 19 when they really had to go out. So it hits $1 trillion. You would see the inflation in 1980s was 15%, and today it is around 8 or 9%, and we are actually worrying about inflation. I think the problem is really, really not inflation; it's the U.S. debt. You would see that it has grown from $1 trillion to $31 trillion, and that kind of affects the whole global economy. And just to bring down this inflation so that this US debt doesn't go up faster, because if you were to see, if I were to just draw a logarithmic chart, you would see that it's just crazy. It's just going like more of a straight line now. And I think it's going to reach $50 trillion in another 4 years or so. And just having said that, what they're trying to do is increasing the interest rates with money supply and all that drama. And I think it's going on and on until the point where this whole thing just blows up. I think once it goes to something like $100 trillion in the next, within this decade, and that is where things will really start to blow up, I think. And also, interestingly enough, I was just checking how much tax the US gets. I thought it was like less than a trillion, but actually it's like 3 trillion is what they're getting. And that's also the reason for all these strict regulations that they're getting. They want to get this money. And once it goes into crypto economy, it'll be hard to kind of get this kind of money back. And this is also what I said was the most precious thing US exports, it's inflation. And a couple of more things. The XMR chart that I want to just talk about. Um, Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, it's following exactly what Bitcoin is doing at the moment. This is the regression lines. And nothing too much to talk about this. I also checked the RSI. It's getting relatively stable. I think we have stayed in this $140 zone for a very long time. I think it's unlike it's unbecoming of XMR. It doesn't do that such things. It either has a lot of volatility or it stays quiet. But this kind of staying quiet zone has been much longer than in the past. But well, probably it's just the nature of bull bear cycles, like the bear cycles where the RSI is actually quite low, like the one we have. So I do see a good support forming around $140, although I cannot say we won't go down, because I I would see the strong support. Let's say Bitcoin crashes. Let's assume like $12,000 and XMR stays its ground at $120 or $140. That'll be like the bottom for XMR, but it's following exactly what Bitcoin is doing. And well, talking about Bitcoin, I think the golden question is: are we going to go up or are we going to go down? I think I explained last time the RSI is super low at the moment. We don't have not seen such an RSI in history of Bitcoin like this low for such a long time. So based on the global geopolitical events and whatever is going to happen, whether nuclear war or not, I don't know. This is going to affect the stock markets as well as it's going to affect the crypto economy. So we are on the edge right now. But from the technical as well as the on-chain charts, I see that we might have a pump towards 25K, even 30K in the coming in the beginning of the next year. But I think I'm going to just stay on the sidelines for until the end of this year for the US interest rate hikes to take place and Fed starting back to pivot. And that is all I have for this one.
Awesome.
All right, man. Wow, that was
That was an intense report. Good job.
that was intense. All your presentations have been amazing. We need to compile them all so people can go back and watch.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So what are you doing, man? What are you moving on to?
Well, I will still stick on to Monero. I think I'm also going to get into the development of XMR because I'm also a programmer by passion, as well as
Okay.
my. So I will be contributing to that as well in my free time. although I have a day job as well. So also, yeah, some other priorities in my life. I just have to, attend to that for the moment. But I've really enjoyed doing this, and hope I will be back someday, maybe as a guest or something else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're always
definitely.
welcome,
You're
man.
always
You're always
welcome.
welcome. Where would you rather Monerotopia be? Mexico or
Yeah, what's
Miami?
your vote?
Sorry, Mexico or which country?
Or Miami?
Mexico in February or Miami in May?
Well, to be honest, I've never been to both these places, so
Okay.
I'm pretty much open. I mean, where you have a little more, I don't know, whichever place is beautiful, I would say. Miami is beautiful, I know.
Yeah, Miami's awesome. I love
Miami's
Miami.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, Miami's really nice.
Mexico's
Mexico's,
great
I mean,
too.
they're both
So,
awesome.
so what is your say? Where are you planning? Because I heard some talk before this.
We're leaning towards Miami.
Just because of this past
Miami.
trip.
For
because
for
we just
practical
got-
reasons.
Yeah,
Like there's a lot of reasons why
we have a lot.
we think
a
it
lot
could
of-
be, a great conference down there.
Yeah, there was a talk that it might happen in Czech, or did I hear that wrong?
I think you might be talking about maybe Monero.
Oh, maybe Monero Con.
Yeah, Monero.
Oh,
Con.
that was Monerotopia.
Yeah.
All right, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
because we never mentioned. I mean, we didn't. I don't think. we
Yeah.
really.
No.
So I will see. Maybe I'm there or maybe I'm not.
Ooh,
we
you're
would
so
never
good.
know.
We would never know. Or we would
Look, we got some votes coming in. One
do you have so far?
person gave 2
Let's put the
votes.
tally.
They sent 0.02. All right, yeah. I guess you could,
what?
you could pay to
Mexico?
play.
What do you have right now so far? Let's write this down. What do you have
It's
for
kind of
Miami?
hard for me to see,
Well,
right?
no,
Because
you just put that.
I know, but then I got to look at each one
Yeah.
separately.
You're acting like there's so many.
We have 83. Was that Mexico? Wait. Oh my god.
It says it on there. I think you have it written as a. Okay. Anyways, we can move
Okay.
on. We'll look
Oh
at it.
yeah, you had this vote thing, right? All right, I will
figure it
stay
out.
offline and see you around. And
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, man,
thank you
that was
again.
great.
We'll miss
One
you so
question
much.
though. One question. So,
yeah, absolutely.
where do you see Ethereum fitting in terms of, if you look at it in terms of this balance that you were showing?
Well, I think this kind of
Because
talks.
that just the point I want to make. Does that essentially fit into the government's ideal version of a crypto, even more so than something like a Bitcoin, because they ultimately they have more of ability to control it. It's just a thought, right? Like it's
I think so.
Bitcoin has really moved towards being number go up coin and pivoting in ways that kind of disregard censorship and more so are about being friendly to governments and being friendly towards investors, and all of that moves us into something that really makes Bitcoin, defanged, right? And Ethereum seems to also be going in that way, but maybe even more so than Bitcoin. Like maybe it's becoming more number go up than Bitcoin in terms of the design decisions it makes, moving to proof of stake, becoming easier for governments to censor and work with. And then does that then replace Bitcoin? Like why Bitcoin then? And then Monero continues to be what it is, which is actually just this true digital cash utility. I don't know your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this whole digital economy is really, really fast moving space. So we can't really make predictions of what might happen 2 years down the line. But I do agree with you that Ethereum is proof of stake now, and also its fee burning mechanism that we have will kind of bring down its inflation or cut down its supply, make it deflationary in the future for Ethereum. And I think institutions are going to jump into Ethereum because its regulations are going to be, relatively speaking, way more easier in a lot of other countries, even US and other countries. So, well, I do think that it's going to move in tandem with Bitcoin, at least as of now. So yeah, that is my thought. If I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to see,
It's
like, in terms of that balance that you were showing, like, is Ethereum potentially an even better fit for governments?
yeah. In my opinion, both are pretty much the same because both are traceable, but you never know. I think Ethereum could be slightly better fit because they have better control, just like you said. But I think I would put them both on the equal footing. for now at least, unless Bitcoin gets into some, brings in some privacy, technology and integrates into Bitcoin, where then Ethereum becomes, more on equal footing than Bitcoin. But I doubt.
All right. aFungible, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Greatly appreciate your time and all the effort you put into this show. Greatly appreciate
All right. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So
You know what?
much.
Any
Thank
of
you.
the and that's where we're gonna send them the donations that are made to us for this poll will be sent to aFungible. Any amount we get, that will be an additional tip to aFungible for all his efforts throughout the year. Greatly appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate that.
You
All
got
right.
it.
I'll stick offline
All right.
if nobody had any questions. All right.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
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 And we
All right,
we should say we have somebody
special
else that's going to be taking aFungible's place next week, right? We have somebody lined up.
Yes, we do.
All right. Are we
So
announcing?
Stay tuned. Not yet. Or do you want to announce it? I don't know. I mean, I guess.
No, let's wait.
Let's keep it in suspense.
Let's not disrespect aFungible. He literally just left.
Actually, hold on a second. We might have some a special guest who's going to be taking over next week. Do you want to jump on and quickly say hello?
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Bawdy, what's up, man?
Want to make a special announcement?
Just chilling. Yeah. Well, I really I feel honored that you guys would ask me to take over the price report for aFungible.
There you go.
He's been doing great. So I hope I can continue to do as good as he's been doing.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
We're very much looking forward to it.
So there you go, guys. Bawdy, he came on.
Bawdy, what do you think, man? Miami or Mexico?
Well, I live in central Mexico, so I'd love to see it happen in Mexico. I actually voted a second ago.
All right.
This is gonna be tough.
Were you the guy that sent the 2 votes, the 0.02? Is that you, Bawdy?
If I had, I wouldn't admit to it, but no, it wasn't me.
Oh God.
All right, man. We would love to stay in chat, but we gotta get to the special guest.
But please stay on.
Cool, sounds good.
The viewers on stage segment if you have time. All right. Thank
you.
Yeah,
I'll be here.
All right.
Cool,
thanks. All righty, let's move on to the guest segment. The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys. Hello, Robbie.
Robbie, what's going on, man?
Not much. I was really surprised that you asked me to come on, to be honest with you. Yeah, when you sent me the DM, I woke up my fiance. I'm like, oh, listen.
Well, thank you for coming on.
It's 1 a.m. as well, and she wasn't too happy. I'll be honest with you.
She's like, "Why'd you wake me up?"
Yeah, man. We've been friends on Twitter for a while, right? And I saw that you were starting a podcast. So anybody that's starting a new venture out there, Monero related, by all means, use our platform to help grow yours. So we want to help the word out.
Yeah, no, I thought that was awesome. I started the podcast because someone that I knew personally, or semi-personally, messaged me and was like, "Oh, you should start a podcast." So I was just giving them just general privacy advice, "Oh, by the way, a VPN isn't actually that private. Use this." And "Oh, by the way, if you're using Bitcoin, you should probably stop." Not that he was doing anything that he shouldn't have been, but everyone has the right to privacy. So yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you should start a podcast about all of this." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Why don't I?" And I used to have a podcast in the past, but that was
okay.
I've got a 1-year-old and I've got a 2-year-old, and I used to be working quite a bit away from home, so I just make a podcast of me just talking nonsense, just telling them about my day, and my fiance would play it to help my 1-year-old get to sleep.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which I thought was pretty cool. It's getting far too hot. Sorry.
So was a podcast just for your kids, or were you posting it publicly and people?
So it was posted publicly, but it was just kind of think of a audio vlog kind of sort of thing, more of here's what I think about this. Yeah. And there was one episode where I sat by a fire outside, and you could hear the river in the background and the fire. It was actually fantastic. I plan on doing the next episode outside, like the next episode of The Hill outside, which will be pretty awesome because you'll get like the nice background, and it's not solely about Monero the podcast. It's a lot about kind of privacy, all the things that kind of go into it. What really inspired me is, have you ever read the book The Second Realm?
No.
I think so. The podcast Opt Out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they had the guest on, and they were talking very much so about second realm economics. So essentially, instead of like overthrowing like the current economic system, we kind of just opt out of it and we do what we do. So kind of like what you're doing with gratuitous and stuff like that. So they recommended this book, and I read it, and it talks about like temporary autonomous zones and how that can be digital or physical. And it really, really inspired me. It caught my imagination. So this podcast is going to be a lot about those sort of views, and also kind of self-sustainability and things like that.
Beautiful. Yeah, it sounds like a good potential guest for Monero Talk or Monerotopia speaker. I'll have to check that out. What's the name of the book? So
it's called Second Realm, and the two people are anonymous, so they go by pseudonyms. So it's XYZ and Smuggler. I don't know how to contact them. I haven't seen anything public of them, but I'm sure I've only taken a wee glance online. I haven't tried too hard.
Very cool, man. Yeah, so I started listening to your podcast last night, but I only listened to I think half of it. But yeah, I like it. It's a nice style. And you were talking about using Monero, right? I think you're lining up your first story of actually using Monero.
Yeah, exactly. So I went on a stag do, which is like your version of like a bachelor party, I guess. So I went on a stag do, and I was out with someone, and we were just talking, and he's got like loads of tattoos, and he's got like we were just talking, and he's like, oh, like I know Monero because I was wearing this t-shirt. And he's like, oh, Monero, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, oh, like I know that, like I use it. And I ran out of money on the stag do. I didn't have enough to go on like one of the nights out. And I'm like, oh, like I'll just sell you some of my Monero. So he gave me 40 euros. I gave him 40 euros worth of Monero. We were in Ireland, by the way. Awesome. And yeah, it was brilliant. And then we just started talking more and more about it. And he's a tattoo artist. And I was like, oh, I'd love to get a Monero tattoo. You'll probably know Nate, won't you? Yeah, you do, because I think we spoke.
Yeah. I haven't seen him on Twitter. In a while.
No, he disappeared. I other Twitter, but he hasn't replied to me, so I assume that he just wants to keep private. That one doesn't show his face, and I only found it because I tried really hard to find it. But he's safe, which is good to hear. But he has that big Monero tattoo on his hand.
Yeah,
and I want the same sort of tattoo on my chest.
Nice.
So, like, I'm thinking, yeah, I'll do that. I'll pay for it. And then my friend, right after I released the podcast, he messaged me and he's like, oh, by the way, you don't have to pay for the tattoo. You can just come home. And I'm like, no, that defeats the purpose. Like, I want to pay you Monero.
Please, let me play.
But like, yeah, I'm trying my best to transition to like paying as many people in Monero as possible and like using it as much as possible. For example, I used to be really like how I got into Monero was I was kind of into crypto beforehand, but not as like a money go up person, and also not as a liberty person either. It was kind of like, oh, like mining Bitcoin, that seems really cool. It seems really technical. And I worked for an IT company and we sold like IT equipment, and we had loads of GPUs, like tons, like hundreds. So I learned as much as I could about mining crypto, and then found like people who built crypto mining rigs and then sold them GPUs. And I learned as much as I could. And then when I heard about like Ethereum going to proof of stake, I was like, oh, that's a bit, I don't really like that. And I was aware of Monero because I watch Mental Outlaw on YouTube, and he talks about it quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, like I just kind of got like super hooked on it from there, and like ever since I've been trying to like buy and sell everything that I can for Monero. So I've got stuff that's that like I don't need anymore. Like my first go to is like, oh, can I sell this for Monero? Like I've got like you don't really know what, you don't really care for other cryptos, and neither do I. but I had like a bunch of like bit miners, like like the Bobcat ones.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, I can sell these all for Monero. And like everyone who's like cares about them, they're like, oh, will you take Bitcoin? I'm like, no, not really.
Have you successfully sold some old stuff from Monero?
Not really, to be honest with you. Like even like
Where
I've started like
where are you trying to sell it? What are you trying? How you like?
So either like two people that I know, or two like on so I used to have like a big like crypto mining rig with like 3 3070s in it, and I tried to sell the 3070s for Monero, but everyone that I spoke to, they were happy enough to pay for it, and then things just kind of fell through, if that makes sense. And it got to a point where I'm like, I'll just put it on Facebook Marketplace, but just on like matrix groups and all that. Like I had a matrix group where like I tried to set up a marketplace where like, oh, let's buy and sell stuff for Monero, but I don't think didn't really take off. And then the people who were trying to sell stuff, it wasn't bric-a-brac from their house, let's put it like that. So I closed the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I like the tattoo for Monero, man. That's another thought we had, right? For Monerotopia, another vendor. I'm sure we could find.
Oh my god, tattoo! Yeah,
to get a tattoo
artist.
Yeah, tattoo artist in Miami. There's so many of them that would come down for the day. I don't know how mobile is tattooing. Is it like?
I think it's pretty mobile. Like I know people do like house appointments. Like I know people.
So we could do that. So we could have a tattoo artist hanging out there and doing tattoos.
Why don't you do it? Why don't you just get like a stick and poke kind of old fashioned, like you have like a line of.
Wait, what?
Just branding. I'll do like I'll brand you with a Monero
just like the big M logo you heat up and just. I mean, it would show dedication. A lot of people are funny about.
It might be contrary to some of the philosophy of Monero. I don't know.
Yeah, well, as long as it's essential, I'd say we're grand. I think a lot of people are against kind of Monero tattoos and things like that because a lot of people are like, don't talk about it.
Right.
Like, if you have it, don't talk about it. And I think that's a big. Like, I respect that from people, but I also think it's a big issue in the community in the sense of, for example, like what you wanted to do for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was awesome. But I think a lot of people are kind of like very funny about coming out and showing like, oh, actually I support this thing because either they're scared of being shunned or, stuff like that. For example, I recently made my Twitter private. I had to make it public so you can message me from the Monerotopia. But I made that private because like I've just got into like a cybersecurity course. And I wasn't sure if the fact that like I'm really into Monero would reflect badly on me, which is something that you shouldn't really need to worry about. But I think it's a legitimate concern from some people.
Yeah, I hear you. Some people, well, first of all, I get the people that just don't want to reveal that they're part of it because of, OPSEC, and they don't want to create attack vectors against themselves, especially like the devs, those people that are working on it. Like maybe you don't want to let the whole world know you're into Monero, part of the Monero project, right? Like, yeah. I totally get that. But then you have people like me, right? I'm just a dude who believes in the philosophies behind it. And, my ethics align with it, and I think it's it's morally correct, right? I want to live in a Monero world, so I have no problem running for Congress, for example, and saying, if elected, I'll fight on the floor of Congress to make sure people realize that Monero aligns with American ideals. Like, but that's one extreme. So not everybody has to be out there doing it, but I think overall, people shouldn't be ashamed of it, right? Like, I get you might want to do it for certain OPSEC reasons to protect yourself. That's fine. But if your reason is because you're concerned of like, the ethics of it, no. I mean, if you believe that Monero it works as intended, and if you believe in these concepts of free speech, then you should have no problem telling people to use Monero, that you use Monero, and why it's a good thing. It's not just like, oh, I want you to use this so crime can be committed in the world. Like that's not the value prop. You want to create a more open and free society, and Monero allows that to happen.
I think a big issue as well is, the people who do use Monero for crime, like how much of that is actually immoral? Like you talk quite a bit about grey markets, and I know you get some backlash about that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like if like an adult can choose what they do with their body, I don't see a massive issue with that. And like Monero kind of enables people to avoid that tyranny and be a lot safer. Do you know what I mean? Like personally, I don't use grey markets, but I watch a lot of documentaries and videos about them. And I'm really excited to hear about your interview with Rossi's mum, by the way. That seems really cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of as you were saying these things. Yep.
Yeah, he is, like, honestly, one of my idols. Like, genuinely, him, McAfee, yourself, Vic, like, genuinely, like, you talk.
Oh, wow, you got me in that mix, man? Jeez,
Yeah.
that is some big
Both of
shoes.
you. So
Big shoes.
Yeah, you're up there with McAfee and Russell.
Oh, wow.
As
By the way,
McAfee's here.
is he? Yeah, he's awesome. Like I remember watching. Like someone was like, "Oh, did you hear about McAfee?" And I'm like, "Oh, like the antivirus," and that's all I knew. And then they sent me a picture of him topless, machine guns. And
I knew how to live life. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I don't think he had the meth lab. But like people think he had the meth lab. I don't think so.
I didn't even know that was one of the rumors. I didn't even
hear that. That's the whole reason. So the reason his like lab kept on getting raided by the police is the police. What country was it? I forget what country it was in. A South American country.
Belize.
Yeah. It was Belize. So their government thought he was manufacturing meth, which, if you think about that for 2 seconds, like why does a billionaire have a reason to manufacture meth? Like he's already. He was running a pharmaceutical company, but they kept on raiding him, and it was like this targeted attack. It was really, really interesting. He's like just fantastic person. I'm really sad that he's gone. Do you think he? This might be inappropriate, but do you think he took his own life, or do you think they Epsteined him?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't believe anything in this world anymore, right? Unless I see it with my own 2 eyes, right?
There's but it's one of those things where
deception going on. I mean, he did clearly didn't he have a tattoo or something?
Yeah, he has a tattoo, whacked, and then said he had a dead man switch, and then tweeted out.
Right, and he said,
"I'm
like,
not suicidal.
if I'm ever found, dead, I didn't commit suicide." Didn't he like say that?
Yeah, but on the same hand, I feel like if I was suicidal in the public eye, just because I'm a bit of a jokester, I'd probably start putting stuff out like that because I think it would be funny after I pass. People
right.
Make
so there you go. So I'll play it to you this way. I wouldn't be shocked either way, right? Either thing can be the case.
No, I'm very much so on the fence.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, he was a legend, man. He was a legend, controversial figure, but a beacon of liberty. And
same with Ross. I mean, like, what always makes me sad when I hear about these people who operate in like grey marketplaces is they always get them on the tiniest slip up on their obsec. Like they used like one of their like real emails to set up, like a domain host.
Right.
And it's one of those things where like if you actually listen to like how all these people get caught, it's never because the government has this amazing tool. It's always this very, very simple slip up on OPSEC.
Yep.
And like if you look at other marketplaces, a lot of them have been able to exit without having like an issue. Like I'm not sure if you've heard the story about Canazon. Like it's a play on words from Amazon. I'll give you 2 guesses what they sell. But the host of that site, I think he was Mr. White. I think that's why he went by. He basically was like, we're shutting down the website in this amount of days. He didn't exit scam. Everyone got everything they needed. He left, never was compromised, and he operated for like 5 years. It's just interesting. I find it all really, really interesting.
That's how people are going to come. And the thing with Ross, man, he was an idealist. He was doing it because he believed in free and open markets.
Yeah, yeah, and
anytime you hear him speak, you know, you speak to him. I mean, the Liberty conference that we went to, he used to go to that back in the day before Silk Road was created. I mean, he was a liberty loving individual that understood all the principles, and he was creating this out of idealism. And so, you know, you could have your opinions, but
Yeah.
he certainly meant well, and he believed in free and open commerce. And he was the first great entrepreneur of crypto, of Bitcoin. He was the first guy to create something, you know, the killer app. He created the killer app of Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's incredible what he did. Where is he on the Forbes list, by the way? Like, if you were to look at him, like, because we know how much Bitcoin he has, it's public, unfortunately. I mean, where is he on that? Like, because the feds didn't seize his Bitcoin. Like, he still technically has it. Like at one point, assuming, well, actually, maybe not, because obviously there's plenty.
I thought they seized a lot of Silk Road Bitcoin, didn't they?
They did, but he still has some in his wallet. Like they still monitor that wallet, which I don't see. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm almost certain that he still has Bitcoin, like quite a bit of it in a wallet that the feds are aware of, but they can't access it because, like, obviously, you can't confiscate Bitcoin.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you'd imagine, to be honest, I'd just let him buy his freedom. I'd just pardon him, to be honest with you. But short of like pardoning him, I'd just let him buy his freedom.
I think we're getting closer. You know, we'll have to see what happens politically. It's really literally just political at this point. But I think the trend is in the direction of recognizing that, you know, this guy was far from evil, especially as crypto gains more mainstream adoption, the world changes, the worldview changes, and eventually the majority will realize that this guy was not a horrible criminal that deserves a double life sentence. He was a kid.
Crazy.
He was a kid who created a revolutionary concept.
You never heard
using a new technology. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I don't think you ever said the name of your podcast. What is
sorry. No, I was just so happy to talk to you guys. Like, like last night, I was like on my Snapchat, really excited, and you could see me blushing. I'm like, because like you guys are the podcast I listen to the most, right?
Awesome.
So it used to be Joe Rogan. It's now yourselves.
Damn.
So this is the equivalent of being asked on to Joe Rogan. Like, this is funny enough. I'm drinking my coffee from a JRE cup. Should be a Monero cup, but like I was so excited. So I'm just kind of I'm surprised I've been able to hold it together so much.
Great job.
You're awesome, man. You're just genuine. That's what your podcast is too, from what I
I tried just no flair, no nothing like that. Just, you know, I started off, what am I smoking? What am I drinking? I smoke like a tobacco pipe. I just smoke tobacco. Don't worry. But flavored tobacco, you know, like I've got
smoke whatever you want, man.
Yeah, it's my right, but I'm in the house, so I can't. But yeah, like it's always good because if you like tobacco, you learn about new tobacco, and I'm normally drinking whiskey, so you know that's always good. But yeah, it's called The Hill. So just The Hill. The Hill has 3 L's, mainly because I used an AI generator to generate the logo for the podcast, and it put 3 L's at the end of it. I'm like, oh, why not? So I thought that was pretty cool.
Awesome. Man. Yeah, we should post it.
We'll put it in the
show
description.
Notes.
Yep, we will.
Yeah, somebody's saying they convinced him to give up a huge chunk of coins recently. I think like 70K Bitcoin. So they're saying that Ross gave up. And then obviously I know they auctioned off a bunch of the Silk Road coins, or all the Silk Road coins that they seized. That was like 40,000 Bitcoin or something.
That's crazy.
I mean, no, it was more than that, I think. It was more than that. That was just one tranche or something, I think, when they auctioned it off.
That's nuts.
That was crazy. That first gave validity to Bitcoin too, right? When you had the government then auctioning off seized Bitcoin from Silk Road, really was another historic point.
One last thing, and I'll let you guys go, but it's just something that reminded me of like the vulnerabilities of Bitcoin. So are you aware of the company TalkTalk? Anyone from Britain will know what it is.
No, I don't think I know that.
They're a telecoms company.
No.
No worries.
1-year-old's chicken. Anyway, they caught him because he used Bitcoin while on a VPN, and that's how they caught him. But anyway, I'll let you guys go because my 1-year-old's
Robbie, do what you got to do, man. You're always welcome to jump
Yes.
on. Oh,
There she is.
Here
You
she
see
goes.
the door opening.
You got no
Right,
privacy over there.
Yeah, I know. Right, I'll let you guys go. It was really good talking to you guys, and he just knows that I ramble too much. He's doing me a favor. Right,
Aw.
Robbie, you're awesome,
Thank
man.
you so much, by the way.
Thank you
Yeah,
for coming
guys,
on.
check out Robbie's new podcast. It's called The Hill, right?
Hill,
The Hill
right?
with 3 L's.
Yeah, the hill with 3 L's.
The Hill
Thank
with
you.
3 L's.
Put the link
Give
in
him
the
a
description.
follow. Check it out. It's on Spotify.
Oh, there he goes.
And,
Adios. You have to go.
Robbie, you're always welcome to jump on Monerotopia.
Yes. All righty. So I guess let's move on to the weekly news segment with Donnie. Let's do that.
Wow.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Tony!
I feel very special.
Hey guys.
Hello, how's it going?
Well, you guys left me here. You just went to New York and you left your son in Florida.
Son, we missed
Tony,
you.
our adopted son.
We had a great time.
It was such a good time.
We were
And
so sad when we were leaving him at the airport.
Yeah.
We walked in, we're like, we're gonna miss Tony.
I know, I miss you guys too. It's so weird to see you there and not
I know.
in person.
We just chilled, right? We just chilled. It was good.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. Like, and I'm not sure if it's the lighting, but you're still tan.
Yeah, we
Well, Sunita,
Yeah, I think-
Sunita's
Just a
got the
natural
permanent 10.
Sunita has a permanent tan, yeah. And yeah, it was awesome. Like when we went on Saturday in South Beach, we got the 4 meatheads, but not in a bad way. They're just, really jacked. So that was awesome. We got them.
Yeah, that was Sunday, I think. Yeah, like you got those, and then we got the 2 guys on the beach.
Yeah. Wait, is my audio okay?
Yeah, your audio is fine.
Hey, weatherman in a hell. Morning live. You just see the sound in the background.
Wait, so it's okay? Like it's fine? Or
Yeah,
It
your voice
sounds
is
all
fine.
right to me.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Because I need to replace the mic. As you can see, it's gone. Yeah. Oh god. I need to replace it.
Don't
Yeah,
touch
no.
it. Yeah. When you
Yeah,
don't
just don't touch
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, no. No. Yeah, but productive. And we onboarded 30 people at the conference. And again, we could have had more, but in my experience, first of all, it takes a long time, like 5 minutes minimum to talk per person.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
And then some people, they're like, yeah, I want to download it. Oh, my phone is dead. That
Mhm.
literally happened. Or, oh, I don't have storage.
Right.
That literally happened to a couple of people that I talked to.
Yeah. No, you run into all those issues, but the bottleneck is the onboarding. It's not that most people say no. Most would say yes. It's
Most,
just takes a
Yeah.
minute. You gotta convince them. You gotta explain things.
Or explaining, then waiting for the
Yeah.
wallet to download. Then as it's downloading, you're talking to them
Yeah.
about it.
But it's worth it. Every new person you get on, I mean, that's tremendous. There really is an undercurrent of Monero, though, right? I mean, even on the beach, right? When we got the guy, we were trying to get somebody on the beach to accept Monero for the frozen drinks that he was selling out of a pouch.
Which
And
were
he was
delicious.
like, "I
Or
don't know."
delicious.
He's like Monero, and then literally another vendor that was also selling these same types of drinks was walking by, and he heard him say Monero. He's like, Monero? He's like, that's
Yeah.
old school, bro. He's like, yeah, definitely take
Yeah, that was
Monero.
funny.
He's like, that's untraceable digital. Like, we didn't even have to do it. And then the other guy's like, oh, okay.
He's like, okay.
Like he knew already. The other guy knew. It was awesome, right? That was amazing. When you see moments like that where other people already know Monero, and like it's validating that there's a organic growth that's taking place among
Yeah.
people that actually want to transfer digital cash.
Yes, I agree. And yeah, I messaged because my phone died actually, so it was my fault. I was gonna give that guy, he got Cake Wallet, and then I messaged him, but he didn't get back. So I'm hoping that he's gonna get back. And there's $10 waiting for him. So I hope so. But let's get into the news because I know that I want to have the viewers on stage section, and we have a lot to talk about. But before, guys, you have the links in the description. We used link shorteners. They're not they're not malware or scans. I know that they look weird. So click on them and you can follow along or after and let us know what you think. So they're in the description. Now let's go into the news. So Hack Notice is now accepting Monero. Hack Notice is a company-wide threat awareness platform. Basically, they offer employee training, I suppose, and then maybe also firewall protection, intrusion detection system, prevention systems for companies. So, to protect companies essentially. And they decided to accept two currencies, Monero and Bitcoin. Nothing else. So it's good to see. That's very good to see.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's super good to see. And so this has been existing for some time, but in case you didn't know, I'm going to talk about it because someone did mention it yesterday. John R, 365. So there's a bounty website for Monero, and you can actually get Monero for freelancing through trying to solve the problems that people have, for example. And it's bounties.monero.social. You can if you add a PHP in the preferred fiat currency on Tether wallet, you get 0.001 Monero. Obviously, if it's more complicated, you can get, or more difficult rather, you can get 2.8 Monero for a statistical mining dashboard for peer-to-peer pool, a Monero GUI wallet. You can get more, you can get less. This one was 4 Monero for Bitcoin Cash, 2 XMR atomic swaps. Oh, that's cool. What? 11 months ago. Okay. Yeah, so definitely check it out. And if you have anything that you need help with, just put it there and you'll make someone happy. And this is the same one again. What? Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. So let's exit out of this one. Now, we talked about Monero Garden 2 weeks ago, but I want to mention that it did get funded. It did get funded. For the people that don't know, Monero Garden is a website that should be approachable for a 11-year-old and above. It's just a way for people to understand how to use Monero, why to use it, how Monero works. And it's going to have illustrations. I mean, Andreas is going to do a great job. He's really talented. So I really can't wait for the website. It's going to be awesome.
He needs to test this on my daughter.
Yeah, yes, he does. He does. Also, we got to test it on that woman from the last table. Maybe she'll understand Monero better.
No convincing her, right? Oh my god.
God, well, at least thank God she had the fries. You remember she was eating fries?
Oh my god, she was, yeah.
She didn't have that, I think. But she kind of brushed us off at the end. She was like, "All right, no, good luck."
She believes in sound money, but she doesn't like Monero. She wants it all to be traceable.
No, she was just very, I think, worried. Remember she was mentioning how she doesn't want banks to know that she has Monero, and we're like, banks don't need to know that I have Monero.
Oh yeah. She's concerned that it'd be considered illegal and that she'll be a target.
Yeah.
But then overall, she was okay with Bitcoin's ability to be surveilled, right? That was my take.
Yeah.
Enough about her.
I know you guys.
Okay.
Guys, they've been traumatized with this woman.
Okay.
After 20 minutes, I walked away. I'm like, this conversation.
Tony and I just couldn't handle it because we had so much success down there. Then there was this one.
I knew she was
just one.
Just wasn't happening. I walked away.
We had so much success, and then it just went downhill. No, I'm kidding. But it was interesting, I mean, I think the guy next to her was into Monero, but she wasn't.
Yeah,
because he was looking down, man.
Move on, guys.
Anyway, so crypto is easily tracked, guys, as you know, but not as anonymous as you think, right? By Michael Gromek. Who is this guy? So he's the co-chair of the Digital Asset Task Force, a committee at the Global Coalition to Fight Financial Crime. Cool, noble. I wish just that they just left the normal citizens alone, and the criminals, they could go after them instead of encroaching everybody. But cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin can be easily tracked. Okay, true. Okay. Gromek said that coin exchanges are usually subject to know your customer and anti-money laundering regulations. This makes it easier to trace criminals. absolutely true. And then they go on talking about that. Now, privacy coins. Monero, a proof of work cryptocurrency that uses complex codes to hide wallet addresses, is a so-called in quotation marks privacy coin. It's a Gromek, which is intended to protect both anonymity and privacy of users. This is in contrast to Bitcoin, in which a wallet address can be used to identify users. However, even so-called privacy coins like Monero can be traced by law enforcement. Mr. Gromek, what do you know that we don't? What tools do you have in the box? There are still tools that we can use for privacy coins as well that are being used to identify suspects that are conducting certain crimes, said Gromek. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, Gromek.
You see a shadowy coder that just developed some
Right.
tool?
News to us. It sounds like we got to get him on a Monero talk.
For sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we should try that. That's awesome. I mean, that's a bodacious claim. So that'll be awesome to have him on and have a good conversation. For sure. Now let's talk about malware. Be careful, because there's a video, but it's 2.5 minutes, and I can't skip through it for some reason, so I'll just talk about it. But essentially, there has been a bug, or not a bug, it's just malware, sorry, in local Monero. So essentially, you would open a trade, but this malware, when you send the Monero, it changes the address of the receiver when you click submit. So not before, when you actually hit submit, it replaces the address in a way that's hidden from you, unless it errors out.
Sneaky, sneaky.
Stealthy, stealthy. Yeah, so just be careful. Just be careful out there. Because I guess more and more people want Monero, so they're doing whatever they can to get your Monero. Now we do have, this is awesome. So this is, you can find it on GitHub. It's a background sync function to Monero's code base. And essentially this update could reduce users having to wait for long wallet sync times before using, which results in a suboptimal UX. It's being done by Justin Berman based on Howard Hughes' proposal. So it brings down the sync time for Monero, essentially. So you can check it out. And here's an overview of what happens when the sync is enabled and what happens when it's disabled. Like when it's enabled, the wallet wipes the spend key from memory and can continue scanning with just the view key hot. So if you want to know more about it, you have the links in the description.
Yeah, we're hoping to get Jay Berman on, and we could talk about it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, for sure. That'll be awesome.
He's the dev.
Software developer. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. I know this guy.
Yeah. He was at Monerotopia.
Cool.
We might get him on this week, and we can talk about this.
Ooh. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. Now, I hope the audio works. I'm not sure if you guys are hungry, but yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to check. Wait, so let's try now.
We're getting spammed in the chat.
Does it work?
I think you have to put it a little louder.
Oh, it's gonna. So I guess it doesn't work. Wait.
Well, it does. I heard it, but you have to put it louder.
We heard something.
We hear something. No, go into the video itself and click on the little
Yeah.
And then probably. Oh, it did. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe it's a your computer.
Oh, come on, Linux. Don't give up. Okay, whatever. So, do you want to play it or?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, we should play this for sure.
We got to figure that out in the future, how we're gonna do videos.
For the mic. Okay, Gonbat, thank you. Yeah, we gotta see after. But if you, just in case you're hungry, we're halfway through the news. So let's talk about bugs.
Wait, what? Why? All right.
Aldi, the supermarket chain, is considering selling edible insects to help families afford protein. This stuff drives me nuts, Esther.
It's absolutely disgusting. I'm sure Bill Gates is over the moon because that's been the plan all along, to get us to stop eating normal food and to eat bugs, while the elite at the top eat their Wagyu beef and lobster and watch all the peasants at the bottom eat insects and rats because it will save the planet, apparently.
Exactly. Well, it won't be on my menu. I hope it's not on yours, Esther. Good reason to avoid Aldi and go and find a decent steak. Look for an Aussie steak, Esther. If you're going out for a steak, make sure it's Australian or New Zealand. They're the very, very best.
You will eat the bugs that
chain is considering selling edible insects.
What channel was it? Where was that broadcast?
Sky News.
Oh wow,
that is so funny.
Wow, on national
yeah,
TV.
It's getting real, man. It's getting real,
right?
But hey, I mean, you know, if somebody wants to go out there and start selling bugs, by all means, let the market decide. The problem is, it's just you have this, you know, agenda that's making it basically impossible for people to be in the business of selling meat, right? That's the issue. But all for letting bugs compete fairly. It's not a fair competition. They're making it impossible to you know, to farm and to distribute. That's the real issue. It's these carbon taxes.
Yeah, and I just want, before we play this video, because this one is very interesting as well, and it's really emotional as well. I do want to mention that, you know, in some cultures they've been eating bugs for.
Yeah.
I'm not pro bugs. I'm just saying that some cultures. I'm not. You know, some people say, no. Like, no. I mean, you know, some people came up to me.
Culture. Yeah, it's part of some cultures.
Yeah, the problem isn't bugs. If you want to go out and start a business where
bugs.
you know, and they're edible and whatever, you could show there's some nutritional reason why you could eat it and they taste good. By all means, let people go eat and buy bugs. But if you're creating policies that move people towards the point where their only eating option is bugs and they can't afford or access these other foods that we want because of artificial reasons, because of regulations that are ultimately implemented by governments globally, then that's a real fucking problem. That's the issue, right? It's not the bugs themselves.
I agree. And plus, and then we'll stop with the bugs for this week because we should move on as well. But they also make children's books about bugs and about their nutritional values and how they're good for. Yeah, so it's. Yeah, for sure.
That's the issue, that they're trying to move everybody in this direction artificially.
Yes. Now let's talk about, before you play, just one thing. So this is about Lebanon, and as you guys know, Lebanon is in a very dire situation for years now, actually. And I do have a friend there, and inflation is through the roof. It's really horrible. Like, my friend has to essentially farm food for himself, because it's just inflation it's insane. So, and it's interesting the way they titled this video. They're robbing the banks to access their money. I'm not even sure it's called robbing. What do you call that? They're just, it's like they have their money.
Reclaiming their own property.
Yeah.
So they're being vigilantes. You know, they're taking back rightfully theirs.
Exactly. And we should play this until minute 3 or something, because it has an interesting story. It's like a minute.
Yeah, let's play it.
Them, but the government who are thieves. Many Lebanese refuse to believe their money's gone for good, and they're not entirely wrong. Those who can afford to wait years or even decades for the economy to improve may get a lot of the value of their savings back. But with public services collapsing and prices going through the roof, this is the rainy day they've been saving for. And for those in the most desperate situations, waiting isn't an option. Earlier this year, Clara and Robbie got the devastating news that their 2-year-old daughter Martine has cancer. But while dealing with a mother's worst nightmare, Clara is also dealing with the stress of being
Layla Moana Allen, who's in Beirut. But first, Layla has this look at the depths of despair driving Lebanese to extraordinary measures.
This woman is robbing a bank, but the money she's demanding is from her own account. For 3 years, Lebanese have watched, helpless, as the value of their life savings plummeted, denied access to their money by the banks as Lebanon's economy tanked. Now, increasing numbers are storming banks to demand it back. Some take weapons, others threaten to hurt themselves. All of them say they're desperate.
I went to the bank many times, trying to withdraw my money and explaining that I've lost my job and I needed to live. I demanded my deposit so many times, only for them to refuse, claiming they have no money.
This summer, Bassam al-Sheikh Hussein raided his local branch armed with a shotgun and held employees hostage, forcing them to hand over $35,000 from his savings account. He says he'll do it again if he has to get the rest.
What's happened has happened, but what comes next will be much more severe. From now on, more drastic measures are going to be taken. I'll forcibly take back what's rightfully mine, even if it cost me my life, even if I had to kill them all at the bank.
Banks have shut down for weeks in response, but watching their countrymen take the law into their own hands has lit a fire amongst enraged depositors across the country. Protesters have attacked the central bank, demanding justice. They say it's not them, but the government who are thieves.
Many Lebanese refuse to believe their money's gone for good, and they're not entirely wrong. Those who can afford to wait years or even decades for the economy to improve may get a lot of the value of their savings back. But with public services collapsing and prices going through the roof, this is the rainy day they've been saving for. And for those in the most desperate situations, waiting isn't an option.
Earlier this year, Clara and Robbie got the devastating news that their 2-year-old daughter Martine has cancer. But while dealing with a mother's worst nightmare, Clara is also dealing with the stress of being unable to pay for Martine's treatment.
We spent what little savings we had trying to get her into a hospital, but they weren't enough.
Before the crisis, Martine's parents were a typical middle-class family. After the economy plummeted, at the exchange rate the bank is offering, their hard-earned $45,000 in savings is now worth less than $10,000. But they can't even get hold of that. The bank has limited the family's withdrawals to only $100 a month.
What can $100 a month do for us? That won't even pay for a one-night stay at the hospital. That doesn't include surprises like tests and infections. The banks are withholding what's rightfully ours. They're making us beg for our dignity.
Martine's leukemia has a 90% survival rate among kids her age if treated quickly. But if there's a break in treatment, her chances will plummet fast. Martine's doctor is doing everything he can to raise donations to help, but it can't last. If they have to stop, they could lose her.
Time is against us. Plenty of people are resorting to illicit measures, and I'm not saying I support it, but when it comes to the health of one's child, a person will do anything. My husband might go wreak havoc at the bank. Who knows?
As they wait nervously for Martine's next...
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think what's most significant about that is, people say like, will Monero ever go mainstream? Will people ever care? People are going to care when things get, unfortunately, when things get to that point. So we're seeing it's real, man. These things happen. It's like government seizing people's property, not allowing them access to their own money as it plummets in value, and just letting them, suffer. It's insane. It's insane. Could you imagine that? I mean, and the situation that they're depicting with that family. I mean, how either that husband has every right to go out there, or the mother as well, and do whatever it takes to get the money that they need for their family, for their child. I mean, so it's it's the value of Monero is in governments never being able to have that power over you. And unfortunately, there's a very, very real reasons why we're going to need such tools. Perfect example of it.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, but in Lebanon, it's a perfect scenario where you can actually build, let's say, a Monero country by a will. If just people know about, if somebody went there and said, okay, guys, here's your money. You can you can transfer it into Monero, and now you can live off Monero. And just, the economy is so destroyed. You should just make your own economy, because they're at that point. They're at the point. I mean, for example, when the explosion happened in Beirut 2 years ago, and my friend was there to witness it and feel it, the government they just change governments lots of times because they don't want to take the responsibility. So they can actually make their own economy. That is possible. We just need someone to go there and do the job.
Yeah, the time to opt in to Monero and opt out of fiat isn't when you're in that situation. It's too late. You're already screwed. The time is to start preparing now, right? And you move over to Monero and you start creating, like you said, this parallel economy, and then that makes you immune to these things when unfortunately they inevitably happen with the collapse of fiat in your country. And the idea is realizing Monero is the thing that does this the best. Bitcoin, the first, interesting, number go up, but does it have the ability to really prevent governments from intervening enough, right? So at that point, when you're in these situations, when governments are desperate and willing to do anything, are they going to be able to ultimately co-opt, influence, censor, confiscate your Monero because it's not private? I don't know. Maybe you could debate about it. But what we do know is Monero is clearly built to be, less co-opted, less easily co-opted than Bitcoin. So it's like, why take that chance? You're going to need the best weapon for when we, arrive at these times.
Ian said volatility of Monero is a problem. Yeah, for sure, and for now. But what is worse, this or having higher volatility and not even being able to access your money? I mean, and over time, because Monero has natural usage, volatility is going to decrease. And yeah, it's still a way better option than what they have. And
the volatility is because we value our Monero and fiat. So as more people use it and we build a circular economy, and if you're getting paid in Monero and then spending Monero, that's when you'll start to value Monero in terms of Monero, and it becomes a unit of account. If you got paid 1 Monero for last week's work, and then the following week you're buying food with it, and it's going to cost you 1 Monero for eggs, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I just worked for a week. That's when people are going to start to value things in terms of Monero, when they inevitably start using Monero. And that's when its volatility will start to disappear as well, when everybody starts valuing things in Monero, which is going to take time, which takes adoption, which is what is organically happening in Monero, more so than what we see in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is being used as a store of values, but like the real movement towards adoption is happening where people are using it in situations where they need digital cash.
Yeah, it would have been funny if, say, we gave away Bitcoin at the conference and someone already had Bitcoin, so we would just send them more Bitcoin. And then we would say, hey, nice, you have a couple Bitcoins right there. That's pretty cool. Good for you. And I say, oh, shit, what? That's not cool. What are you doing? But yeah, talking about why you should be excited for Monero. Why you should be excited for a central bank digital currency, guys? By William Anderson. He's a technology executive in the blockchain, crypto, and Web3 space. Kick him out. What? What? Blockchain technology is still under development, and wait, let me see exactly. So many new concepts and approaches came and went, but they all focused on speculation and were driven by incredibly early adopters, many of whom were in it for the quick cash turnarounds gains. This guy doesn't know about Monero. There's a tremendous amount that can and will be done with blockchain, just as there was with the web. But to really get people on board, we need reasons for adoption. Monero, what? Sorry. A central bank digital currency is a cryptocurrency, whose liability rests with a central bank. Okay. The closest we have to this an example is in the US is paper money. Anyone can use it, but its value and distribution are backed by the government, who is ultimately responsible for its existence. Okay, we don't like that. While digital currency itself, such as paying online with credit cards or making transfers with PayPal or on Venmo, is ubiquitous. ubiquitous, yes. In the United States, the accountability for this money is managed by private business, not the government. Now, interestingly enough, so this was released on October 20th, 5 a.m. October 20th, 12:23 p.m. Lauren decided to post an article on Forbes about Monero. And it talks about what is Monero and was recently thrust into the spotlight following the Optus data breach. But why Monero? Traditionally, all crypto transactions, whether made on Ethereum or Bitcoin, are designed to be traceable and available to all. The Monero cryptocurrency is changing the market by offering something most cryptocurrencies cannot: privacy. But is Monero good for the everyday investor? More like user. I'm sure investor, but history of the coin, features, privacy, how it is mined, linked to ransomware, how it is performing. Does Monero have a future? Well, it is extremely difficult to accurately predict the future performance of any cryptocurrency. The crypto market is rife with volatility. This is partly since crypto is a young currency and its value is primarily dependent on investor demand, right? But in Monero, you can invest in it, but we also depend on user demand. We have users, right? Like when we went on the beach and we gave that guy Monero for the coconut, that's a user demand. He wanted Monero, and we just had a parallel economy right there. So we depend on user demands, not necessarily investor demands. I mean both, but
and then you left out the positive part. She says, despite this, crypto analysts seem relatively optimistic regarding Monero's future performance. As Monero is still holding the title of leading privacy coin, seems fair to assume that it has more to offer the market and is unlikely to drop off anytime soon. I mean, that's the Lindy effect too, right? So the more years that a technology like this exists, the higher probability that it will continue to be around in the future. Like Tony's saying, yeah, since it's not built on speculation, it's built on use. That will sustain future use. As people are quote unquote invested in using it, it actually provides utility in their lives beyond speculation.
Absolutely. So maybe we should have, who knows, Lauren Claxton. That'll be cool on the show.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. And then have
she would do it.
William Anderson as well. So they can yeah, we can. That'll be interesting. But it's so funny, like in the same day. Like Lauren was like, no.
There's endless Monero news this day, whether it's directly mentioning Monero or it's something happening out in the wider world that is symbolic of the reasons as to why we need Monero.
Exactly. Absolutely. But now let's talk about a former FBI director, which said that blockchain is easier to trace than paper money. Yeah, true. Bitcoin has failed. Absolutely. Cryptocurrencies and DeFi platforms are now more vulnerable to privacy breaches and hacking than traditional banking. We talked about Satoshi Nakamoto and the offer specified this little privacy section of the paper. So it says that the traditional banking model achieves a level of privacy by limiting access to information to the parties involved and the trusted third party, meaning like the banks, essentially, they only know, but nobody else can know. The necessity to announce all transactions publicly precludes this method, but privacy can still be maintained by breaking the flow of information in another place, by keeping public keys anonymous. So, essentially what Bitcoin is, right? I mean, we don't know exactly who that string is. We don't know the person behind it, but we can see the amounts. But now we can also see who the person is behind the string, right? If it's online, there's methods to find them through KYC, because that's how most people procure a crypto, or in real life. Like I said before, you can just send some Bitcoin to someone, and then you can quickly see how much money they have. And like the coconut guy, what if we gave him Bitcoin and he came back and he said, guys, and we wanted more coconut, right? And he would say, guys, you have a lot of Bitcoin. I want more this time, or forget about it.
Exactly.
You could have said that, or
Right. I mean, the argument is, well, Lightning, all this stuff. But the point is, I mean, that's from the Bitcoin white paper, that privacy section. Satoshi saw that as being part of the value proposition of Bitcoin, the fact that it was anonymous. But, he realized even then that it was really just pseudo anonymous. But I don't think he foresaw all, how things would ultimately play out, where everybody would be KYC AML'd in the way that they access Bitcoin. They're not getting it by using their CPUs to obtain some at home and trading electricity for it anonymously. That's not how the vast majority of people are acquiring their Bitcoin. They're acquiring it through KYC AML exchanges, where now you are able to identify somebody, and then their Bitcoin is associated with them thereafter, wherever or however they use it. So it just doesn't work. Work.
I agree.
Privacy is not maintained.
I agree. And one more thing from this specific article: there's a record in blockchain, and that transparency and speed of accessing that record globally makes investigations of these types of fraud accelerate over traditional finance. So
yeah, they love it. Governments love it, which is why it's a number go up technology, partially, right? Because they're not afraid of it. They're embracing it.
Yes, absolutely. How are we doing on time, by the way? It's just hard to do it fast.
We've blown way out of time, no matter what. Anyway, so
hours.
this is just a marathon episode. Just keep going.
I know. Sorry, it's kind of hard to make it. I try.
Yeah, no worries. This is all good info.
Okay, yeah, it's very good info. Talking about Ethereum. Remember the guy from the conference? He was sitting outside and he called proof of work caveman technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was interesting. And then I said, look into proof of snake, and then he laughed, and then I laughed, and then we left. But Ethereum faces a test of its ideals after the merge. So as we know, Ethereum went from proof of work to proof of stake, snake, whatever you want to call it, and they celebrated, awesome. But more than half of the network's activity is now subject to new U.S. government sanctions because a lot of the nodes are operating in the U.S. So the US is trying to capitalize on that, right? And essentially government regulators will look at this and say, okay, that was easy. And if Ethereum becomes a centralized, kind of is, some people say it's not, censorship controlled chain that also has bad scalability, then there's no point in building on Ethereum anymore. Says the founder and CEO of the blockchain consulting and development company Labris. So this issue attacks the core premise of Ethereum. Then this article explains the crypto sanctions, Tornado Cash, what happened with that, and that essentially citizens from the US were banned from using Tornado Cash, which is a service that provides anonymity to users. OFAC argued that Tornado Cash was the primary tool used by North Korean hackers in a $600 million hack. So punish them, don't punish the rest of us. It's kind of suspicious. They obviously don't want you to have privacy. And then, so why sanctions are affecting Ethereum after the merge? Well, many Ethereum community members worry that established centralizing entities like Coinbase would be the ones to cave to governmental pressures. But since the merge, a new category of middlemen, and this is very interesting, called relays have emerged, and many of them abide by OFAC rules. Relays are programs that help the proof of stake validators, watchdogs who safeguard the network, maximize their profits. Now, on the day of the merge, 10% of transactions were routed through the relays, but now it's roughly 60%. The result is that a month after the merge, 53% of Ethereum blocks are effectively being censored. 53%. And from 10% to 60%, it's also a big increase.
Ethereum is the new number go up coin. It's the new, government friendly pseudo CBDC crypto, which is interesting because then it's like, what is Bitcoin at this point? If it's already given up on trying to be digital cash, it pivoted and moved towards being quote unquote digital gold, but in a way where governments are okay with it because it's perfectly traceable. And Ethereum is now just doing the more extreme version of it, to the point where now you could even potentially easily censor transactions or make them compliant to certain standards.
Yep, that's Ethereum. That's Ethereum.
I'm just really curious how that's gonna, affect the competition between Ethereum and Bitcoin. I start to wonder, what is Bitcoin at this point? Because I feel like now Ethereum is eating Bitcoin's lunch in terms of being the number go up, state compliant crypto. It's doing that part even better than Bitcoin. Right? What do you think, Tony?
Yeah. Wow, that's such a good point, actually, because what if Ethereum is going to attract way more institutional funds than Bitcoin now, right?
Yeah, and plus it's built right where it's proof of stake, so as more people lock up coins, the liquidity goes down, right? It becomes number supply demand becomes more scarce, arguably, than Bitcoin, as more people use Ethereum and lock it up for all those DeFi reasons and whatnot, and for the proof of stake, right? Proof of stake. So it's like you then start to wonder, all right, well, that's because Bitcoin is supposed to be something else, but what is it? It's not digital cash, because it's not good for that. It's just for all the reasons we spoke about. So interesting.
Wow, yeah, wow, that's such a good point. So the flippening is possible. It's really possible.
I think so.
Wow, but
and Monero will flip in terms of people becoming the most actually used crypto.
Yes. Wow, that's such a good point. That's awesome. But then it's just like a quick mention, because he didn't really. So Monero was mentioned on Lex Friedman, and it wasn't. They didn't talk extensively about it. They just mentioned Monero in some other comparison. So there's nothing much to talk about. It's just like.
Oh, that's cool. They mentioned it though.
Yeah, Yeah, first he was like, yeah, he made some comparison. This guy, Balaji, made some comparison, but
Balaji, he mentioned Monero. I'm surprised because he's a big Zcash shill. He's all about Zcash.
I think he said sell Zcash by Monero.
No, did he really?
Yeah, no. Wait, let me hear. Sorry.
Oh, we can't hear it, man.
No, he said sell Monero by Zcash. Ah, shit. Never mind. Okay, he didn't mention Monero.
What was the point he was making with regards to Monero, though?
Talking about U.S. states by population per time, and then he talked about. I will need to like replay and see. He was making some comparisons. So,
can you play a clip? Or we won't be able to hear it?
Yeah, you won't be able to hear it. It's like within like those 20 seconds, literally.
Okay, but it's not like a direct conversation about the technology of Monero versus Zcash. He's just saying some people are trading one for the other type thing.
Yeah, and then he just goes on to talk about states. You just made it quick, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, just the fact that more branding, right? People are when you ask people what cryptos they know, they're going to start to hear the word Monero more and more. But Balaji's got a lot of respect in the crypto community. He's an old school like Silicon Valley crypto guy, which is why he's a Zcasher.
Yeah, someone said in the comments. Thanks, REMSee. He said that he was talking about trading, not any fundamentals of any coins.
Right. Okay. But it's nice to see that he's mentioning Monero. That's interesting. That means it's on his mind, right? He was looking for examples in his head. Subconsciously, he's saying Monero. Where if you were to ask him about privacy coins, he's going to say Zcash, unless that's changing too. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Well, he said sell Monero by Zcash. It's a start. He's going to swap it one day. Okay, so then let's talk about CBDC development necessary for US to remain competitive. Obviously, in an effort to remain a competitive player in the world of digital assets, the US should look to push forward with the development of the central bank digital currency pilot, said US Representative Jim Himes. And then he said Himes told CoinDesk TV, first mover, the US should continue to work on CBDC so that if and when the time comes, we've got the option to move forward if we need to. Obviously, the future is going to be digitalized, so there's going to be some option. And he said, why would you exit the game before you even know what the game is going to look like? Huh. Well, that's going to be a shitty game, by the way. But we could do the research, and we could set up a pilot program for a CBDC. And remember that I'm just going to mention that girl one more time because it's relevant. So she said that she doesn't see CBDC as a big threat, and that who said that CBDCs are coming in the whole world? She did make that point. And well, look at this. CBDCs are considered to be a new and digitally native form of money, and with pilot projects in countries such as Australia, Iran, Japan, and even Russia beginning to take shape. We could shut it down, said Himes, noting that the possibility that a CBDC will never be adopted in the US. I don't see that. I don't know.
All right, more CBDC news.
And even more. Last one. How Norway's central bank is experimenting with its own digital currency. A cashless society may not seem so far away in the distant future. As we know, Norway's, they don't use as much cash anymore. They use more cards, same as Sweden, as far as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically making a point that the current digital alternatives, such as cryptocurrencies, have proved volatile. NFTs have fallen out of favor since their hype. Well, NFTs were meant to be used for transactions per se, but it makes a point. Different approach to blockchain payments is gaining traction around the world. CBDCs are more stable, but unlike cryptocurrencies, they are centrally controlled by governments, more specifically central banks, and are not seen as a way to invest money, right? It's just used as money, just like Monero. I mean, you technically invest in it, but you can use it like you should use it. And several countries have launched their own CBDCs, such as Nigeria in 2021. The Eurozone, the digital euro, is in its development phase, and elsewhere in Europe, Norway is in a testing phase. Then we have
just go up for a little the motivation. What does it say there? What was their motivation?
The motivation for embarking on the study of CBDC is found in Norges Bank's mandate. In particular, are tasks to promote an efficient and secure payment system. Okay. Of course, a well-functioning payment system in the domestic currency is also important for monetary and financial stability, said Torbjorn Hegeland, Executive Director of Financial Stability at Norway's central bank, Norges Bank. And with this background, the decline in cash use and other structural changes in the payment system are key drivers for the project, right? So they are using a lot, predominantly cards in Norway, and they don't really use cash. The consequences of a CBDC are very much dependent on the design. Getting the design right is basically the main challenge of the project. Norway's CBDC project has been in the works since 2016. There's no guarantee if it will actually be launched. Experimental phase of trial and analysis will last until June 2023 and will form the basis of our recommendation on how we should then go forward into an eventual next phase from next summer. To talk about regulation in Norway. The benefit is that they're governed by central banks, meaning that they are meant to be stable, right? Just like current currencies. They're so stable. Thanks, governments. CBDC as a means of payment would move around in a payment solution that would have connections to other parts of the payment system, okay? Is regulation-wise bound to the EEA agreement and must comply with the fundamental principles of that agreement and EU rules of the internal market. CBDC is not a goal in itself. The goal is to ensure an efficient, safe, and attractive payment system in Norwegian kroner also in the future.
Sure.
Okay.
You know what the goal is. The goal is to control people and their money. That's the goal. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
we have open source tech that's already solved these problems. If you want, an efficient payment network, use Monero. Start using Monero. Tell your people to use Monero. If you truly believed in this, right? Like that was your goal. All right, sure, the volatility, but it's not going to be too volatile if the country of Norway is behind it, right? Volatility starts to go away. That's not the goal of the states is to get you to use their CBDCs, onboard everybody, move everybody onto that, so they have programmable money and they can control your money and control you. That is the true goal, and it's pretty damn obvious. Everybody in crypto, well, I wouldn't say everybody in crypto knows it, because some people are just there's a lot of people in crypto that don't even understand crypto. Everybody, I would say everybody in Monero knows this, right? Anybody who's found their way to Monero is I don't think doubts otherwise. They understand what the true goal of CBDCs is. We just gotta spread that knowledge, man. We need normies understanding this. That's how we win, right? It's an information war. We need people realizing this and then just opting into these other solutions before the government forces them down this path.
I agree. And remember that one girl from the bar that was super social and chatty? She said that her friends are into crypto, but she never understood it because it's just so complicated for her. We gave her some Monero, and it was easy. She understood it pretty easily. She just got Cake Wallet. We gave her some Monero, and we're like, all right, we can hold it, you can spend it. And she didn't ask. She asked like 1 or 2 questions, and then that was it. She got it.
Yeah,
so it's also easy. Yeah, it's also super easy.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
All righty.
All right, yeah. Wow.
Another news segment that's like 2
Tony,
hours
amazing,
long.
man. Amazing.
So much for a short news segment.
I know.
Much news. People
I know.
when we first started Monero talking, people were like, well, you're going to run out of content. What are you going to talk about? When you're trying to change the world and onboard everybody onto this tech, as the world is literally kind of trending in the opposite direction, there's an endless amount of news, right? There's an endless amount of things that relate to the topic of Monero.
This is true.
Yeah.
All righty then.
Yeah. We always try to make it short, but it's impossible. It's impossible.
It is impossible.
There's so many good things, and then if you do half the news, you omit a lot of things. It's hard, but
no, you're doing good. You're doing
it's
great.
the style of the show. This is Monerotopia, right? It's like it's an endless show, or it could be anywhere from 40 minutes to 3 hours.
Yeah.
This isn't short form where we just like spat out some useless shit. We chill, we talk.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's not like on the news. Come on, Tony, 6 minutes. You got sorry, 1 more minute. All right, bye.
This is propaganda hour.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right. We will have a viewers on stage section. Let's see if anybody wants to quickly jump on for another hour or two.
Oh my God. I will be leaving and you guys can continue to chat. Alrighty. Thank you, Tony, as usual.
Tony, stick around, obviously.
Stick around, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because I want to talk about more a little bit. So yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, let's move on. It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
Come on down.
Still working on that.
We got some votes, guys. We got some votes.
Hey, Bawdy.
Hey, how's it going, Tony? Sorry.
Oh, I just kicked Tony out. No, I did not mean to.
Oh, no.
I kicked his computer. No, I was, whoops. Come back on, Tony, please. Sorry.
He'll come back. He'll figure it out.
Come on, there you go. Yeah, because I kicked your screen.
Guys, I just want to look. It looks like we got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, REMSee.
Yeah, so we got 8 votes so far.
I'm going to mute everyone for now.
2 people have sent 0.01 Monero to the Miami address, and 6 people have sent to Mexico.
Ooh, look at that.
Sunita's not liking this right now.
It's not that I don't like it. It's that it has nothing. I love Mexico.
No, I know. It's more of that our momentum was going in the other direction.
Just a little, because they're just, we figured
like
out
we said, we're using this as an additional tool for or data point to make our decision, right? We're not
Yeah, to confuse us even more. Good stuff.
This isn't a direct democracy.
Doug just
folks.
loves confusing us even more. That's what he does.
We will ultimately make the decision, but it's interesting to see that the people that have participated so far are leaning towards Mexico. So if you haven't voted yet, please vote. Send 0.001 Monero.
It's just 6 people, so we're not sure yet.
Yeah, 8 people. So
that
far.
is true.
Yep. 8 total votes.
8 total votes.
2 versus 6.
Right now live. We'll see off.
Oh
which
boy.
Line.
Which side did the double vote go for?
The double vote went for Mexico.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mexico is also.
Bawdy, you're rooting. You said you're rooting
obviously,
Mexico, right?
Because you're in Mexico.
Yeah, I live in central Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll see what the final decision is. But
what do you think of location in Mexico? We were thinking Guadalajara or Mexico City.
Mexico City.
Yeah, Guadalajara would be a great city. About 5 million people here. There's not a ton of crypto people here, but there's a nice size. You'd probably definitely get even some of the Bitcoin maximalists that live here would probably show up for the conference.
Cool. Yeah, and our hope is we'd get some more of like the South American contingent. People that are living down in Argentina may be down with flying up to Mexico versus coming up to Miami.
It is a bit of a schlep from Argentina for sure. It's like an 8-hour flight, maybe.
Yeah, but not as bad as Miami, right? And then plus just
Yeah.
the idea of having to go into the U.S.
Actually, I don't know. I think they're the same
No.
distance.
What?
Ish.
No way.
Well, from to my actually, yeah, it's a little less. That's true.
No, it's got to be.
There are a lot of direct flights, like right to Mexico City. There's some direct flights to Guadalajara as well, but like basically everything goes through Mexico City.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, maybe we would do it in Mexico City. That's another reason.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a hub. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how people vote, guys. Cast your votes.
It's a difficult decision because we have a pretty good network in Miami, and we have built a big network in the conference.
Yeah.
So we would have a set audience that we know for sure that is going to show up. In Mexico, because people can say, "Oh yeah, I'll do it in Mexico. We're all for Mexico," and then nobody,
Right.
Yeah, nobody shows up.
nobody shows up.
That's why I want to see if it's overwhelming Mexico, then I'd consider it. And if people are putting their money, even though it's $1, right, but they're investing time and $1 to vote, then all right, then I would consider it, more. If we got a bunch of votes in one direction or the other. But like you said,
Construyas vinieron. Oh, I don't know how to say the future tense, but if you build it, they will come. Si construyes, van a venir.
Okay. Well, it's just we can do it anywhere. That's not a thing. It's just come, just show up. Because if we knew for sure that people will come to Mexico and we'll have this big community, like a lot of people, I mean that's a no-brainer. But it's just that's the most scary part, because we understand about the job and everything. Obviously, we take into consideration absolutely everything. But the biggest thing is we just hope people to show up in Mexico as well.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. We want the
Yeah.
location that's going to lead to the maximum amount of Monero people hanging out.
Yeah.
There are a lot of the TDV and Acapulco, like anarchists. Maybe I've heard of the Greater Reset. There's a lot of people, a lot of anarchists that hang out in central Mexico. So let me ping those groups and see if they'd be interested. I can maybe get you some more data points on whether or not you could expect a lot of people to show up.
Yeah, definitely hit them. We're going to reach out and talk with Crypto Vigilante because they were part of Monerotopia last year. We definitely, they're probably going to be part this year, but they'll have some insight into whether or not they want us to come down to Mexico because that's, when Anarchapulco is. That's the idea. We would do it right before Anarchapulco. So people would come, I guess, let's say it's Mexico City, and then they could move on to Acapulco.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Do you think that we can fly the coconut guy? If we go to Mexico?
I think we could probably find another coconut guy down in Mexico. But yeah, we would have to go down there. We'd have to do some legwork, right? To get the venue. I mean, we have people that could help us in Mexico City. people that we already know that are down there. But I would like to try to get vendors down there and do all that stuff as well. That'd be cool. Gonbat, what do you think, man?
Hi. Sorry, I had to jump off
No worries.
for a minute. But yeah, I mean, Mexico, I'd love to show up. I don't know if I can afford it, but I would love to. Yeah, we should reach out more to the Spanish, Latin American Monero community. There's a group of Matrix, Monero en Español, so maybe we can comment there. But yeah, it would be really cool.
You think those people would be more inclined to go to Mexico than Miami?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. But yeah, it would be interesting to try it. But yeah.
All right, we will
REMSee.
At Monerotopia this year, like I would say only like 10 to 20% of people were wearing like the Bitcoin wristband. So it wasn't like that was a huge draw, like it being at the same time as the Bitcoin conference.
I
yeah,
do
but it was
agree
like,
with that.
yeah,
Go
but I
ahead.
think because it was like the first time, like I think now the second time, there's a little
Right.
more
Yeah.
I understand what
our
you're
thought
saying.
was
Yeah.
this go around, we would really try to actively eat more
Because people
into
are
the
aware
Bitcoin
that we
crowd.
existed. Like even if they found out now, they'd be like, "Oh shit, you did it during then." Like it's I don't know.
We got more connections now too. Like we were even applying for a grant down in Miami that's run by the city. And we think we have a pretty decent shot of getting it. It's not a ton of money, but it's more so being associated with them. And then they would maybe help get the word out locally in Miami about the conference. So there's advantages there, but I do hear you. It wasn't like being next to Bitcoin really was
like that helpful. But
that helpful.
I mean,
but this time around, I think it would be more. But maybe not.
think so, but maybe not. I mean, actually, obviously, we won't know till the day of. It's both, right? Miami or Mexico. Like we won't know Mexico if like people will come, right?
What I was most shocked by is I ran into people in Miami that saw me like wearing a Monero shirt and they were down for Bitcoin and they didn't even know Monerotopia was going on.
Yeah, that was another thing.
And like these were Monero people. So like that's a problem. Like everybody who's into Monero, using Monero, that would go to a Monero conference should know about Monerotopia. So I don't know what we're doing wrong in that respect, but we'll definitely have to solve
it was
that.
our first conference, right?
Yeah, but people need, we need to get the word out better to the entire global Monero community. Like it just blew my mind that there was somebody. He was literally going to stay in he was staying in the same hotel we were staying in.
I remember.
He's like, "Oh, that's amazing. There's a Monero conference. When is it?" I'm like, "It's tomorrow." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Where is it?" I'm like, "Right across the street over there where that big sign, Monerotopia sign is." So I don't know what we're doing wrong in that respect. Any ideas you guys have on how like we can get the word out to anybody that would attend a Monero conference? Let us know.
Wow, the silence.
There's a silence.
Everyone's muted.
That's the problem.
You know what I wanted to say, so it doesn't escape my mind. I think Robert mentioned that he put his profile on private so that people wouldn't know that he's into Monero, so that it doesn't interfere with his personal life.
Mm-hmm.
So let me show you something cool. So the way that I would differentiate my luggage is through a sticker. I didn't put a Monero one because I didn't want to get in trouble, but I put the gratuitous
nice
sticker on it.
Subtle.
There you go.
So that's my way of showing.
He's ready to leave right now with his luggage. He's all packed up.
Guys, let me come to New York.
Leave
I don't want to be here.
Come to the freezing cold.
Tony, you can visit anytime, man.
Yes.
Anytime.
I know. Thank you. I know.
All right.
Yeah, but it's such a tough choice. It's just about people showing up. Literally that.
We don't want to, change and put more effort into the Mexico one if no one shows up versus the Miami one. I don't know. It's a tough decision. And also the Mexico one, it'll be happening in like 2 months.
Right.
So that's another. It takes a lot of planning. We need help, right? So much the two of us can do.
It's not it's in February.
Yeah, 3 months. Okay, well, no, basically we're the end of October right now.
January. Yeah, it's only have 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And then
that's probably the
holidays, you
biggest
know,
concern.
spending, you know, we also have our day jobs and our personal lives. So
It's
it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
You're too practical.
Yes, I'm the logical one that makes things happen. Sorry, guys.
All right, guys. Anything else you guys want to bring up?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment a bit on the Lebanon bank crisis, because those images really remind me of the Argentinian bank crisis back in 2001, where banks stopped people from withdrawing their money. I didn't get to live that because I was born 2 years later, but yeah, it really affects. It had very long-term effects. Nowadays, only I believe 13% of all Argentinian banks account are actually used. So like no one wants to use banks, and there is a very good reason for that. And I think it's important to realize like why do we get to that point? I mean, it's not like who could have predicted that banks will collapse? I mean, no. I mean, this is a result of when I don't know about Lebanon, but in Argentina it was the government couldn't pay their own debt, and so they took people's money to do it. I mean, that's what happened when you don't, you don't really own your money. You're just given permission to use it, like a license. But yeah, I mean, it's important. People say, oh, well, no one cares about privacy. No one cares about, holding your funds. Banks are so convenient. So, well, that's what happens. I mean, it's important to realize that. Yeah, I mean, something that I bet it's happening in Lebanon right now is that, sure, you see people not able to withdraw their own money, but I bet you that the biggest clients of their banks were able to, because that's what happened in Argentina. The biggest, the biggest holders, they got notified early, so they were given time to actually withdraw their money before anyone else. So yeah, I mean, banks do not do not work for us. So yeah, just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, man, you've seen it, you've lived it. I think people just don't think it could happen to them. And like I was saying, it's not useful unless you're already using crypto, you're already using Monero. It can't be like shit hits the fan and then you say, all right, now I'm going to move into crypto. That's not going to help you, right? Those people in Lebanon, they don't need Monero right now. They needed it, yesterday. They needed it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an experience, and they will definitely learn.
Oh
from
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I mean, Argentinians definitely learn from it, and it's cash is king. I mean, no. Everyone, like, no one trusts banks. I mean, even the people who support the current governments, they don't trust banks. Like, it's just universal. So yeah, I mean, at least people can learn from it.
Yes, you need to play. I just want to. I know we had a long ass news section, but just play this one other clip too. I thought this is Noah Smith. He's renowned. I mean, he's got a ton of Twitter followers. Good economist. Play this clip.
It's just some bullshit, people say. That said, Bitcoin could be very important in a world of conflict, because it could allow people to transfer money across borders more easily when there's instability in their home countries. So, we put sanctions on Russia. Russian rich people want to get their money out. They don't have to carry a physical sack of gold over the border or anything. They can just transfer Bitcoin. And so, even without the help of any bank, right? It's bankless. And so then, so if you look at World War II and what happened then, there was a lot of people, rich people fleeing conflict and instability with physical valuables that they could transport, which is really what gold was all about. And so Bitcoin could replace that, because the internet will still be up. and people can transfer Bitcoin. Although, I might even bet on something like Monero, is less traceable than Bitcoin. And so actually that's the other one I'm thinking of. It's just some bull.
Yep. So there you go. So like Noah, it's interesting. So he doesn't see, crypto's value proposition being as replacing fiat. I recommend listening to that interview. It's really good. He's a really smart dude. He doesn't see it as, that being the killer app version of crypto replacing fiat. Maybe it could, but he doesn't really practically see that happening. He sees the true value proposition being the fact that it's unconfiscatable and censorship resistant, which ultimately he even says it, so he realizes that's the value prop. And actually Monero does that better than Bitcoin. But interesting. I mean, he's talking about all the things you're talking about, right? So that's when people actually need to utilize it is going to be for purposes of, for example, avoiding capital controls, right?
Seeing those bankless guys reminded me, I don't know if it's been talked about on the show, but one of the bankless guys had like a doxed wallet and got hit by a tornado cash dusting. Someone sent him 0.1 ETH from that. And so he has to like file something with the SEC or some kind of federal entity every year to like say that he's not a criminal. And it's like, man, should have used Monero.
Yeah. It's just not safe. It's just it's not efficient either, right?
This week, I actually saw some news about a couple who was traveling across, I guess, state borders in Argentina. And they got detained. They got arrested by police because they were carrying cash in their cars. They were carrying around 50K, which is, I mean, that's not worth that much. And yet they were, I mean, their crime, I guess, was carrying cash. I mean, what proof more do you need to know that you don't owe that? I mean, they should have used Monero.
Not
even
that. I had to send some money internationally. It was like I had to send like $140 for something, but it was like $45 wire fee because it was an international fee. Like that's just something that definitely seems like crypto and Monero can take advantage of the international transfer fees.
Yeah, but I mean, people say that, oh, well, crypto is about smart contracts and, all too complicated use case. But really, I mean, being able to transfer funds anonymously and in an unstoppable way, I mean, it has so much value. I mean, it's sounds simple, but people really need it.
It's the most important thing that crypto can offer. Everything else can like kind of be built on a layer 2, but the pure cash aspect is something that needs to be prioritized on the layer 1.
It's the most important thing, but it's also the most abstract, and that's the issue, right? So it's people don't realize this until it's too late, right? So like Gonbat said, like it's going to open eyes in Lebanon. So maybe, now they'll start to stop. And if they come across these technologies, they'll realize the importance of it. But if you go talk to Joe Schmo, especially like in the US, he knows about crypto. He knows about Doge. When you start to explain to them what the true value prop is, their eyes just glaze over. It's like, well, is it going to go up in value? Because that's all I care about. Oh, but it's censorship resistant. Governments can't take it. They're like, what? Government's not taking my money.
I think the difference is that in the West, people haven't really experienced this kind of crazy censorship and banking freezes like they have in places like Lebanon or Argentina. I have a friend in Argentina right now, and he says he's actually paying his rent in Bitcoin. So, these other places, you can see why they might feel more compelled to try and find alternatives. But in the West, everyone's kind of fat, dumb, and happy at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, they think it's not going to happen. But we just saw Canada. I mean, that's just nuts. I mean, Canada.
Yeah, the trucker incident was just like, it was just so clear that you're like half of the use case that Bitcoiners would always talk about is that they can get around government censorship. But when the whole quote unquote capital insurrection happened, a lot of guys got doxxed that tried to donate to them. And then it happened again in Canada. And they're like kind of begrudgingly admitting it right now. They're like, yeah, I guess that was kind of a problem. It's like, what do you mean kind of a problem? Like people really had negative consequences in real life from using a transparent ledger. But, they said on that banking clip you showed, he was talking about how
it's about sort of the edge case use cases, the avoiding the censorship and all that. But to me, and people, especially Bitcoiners, will say stuff like, well, we're going to become the new digital gold. We'll be integrated into a reserve asset on banks' balance sheets or in central banks. And to me, that's like, well, gold has already been a bearer asset for 100 years, and that hasn't really stopped these fiat currencies from taking significant power. To me, like the really largest market cap and the most ability to have a positive effect in the world is to actually be exchanged for real goods and services, to be a medium of exchange.
Right. That's the most disruptive part of this. Like you said, the tech already existed there with gold, and they were essentially able to co-opt it or work around it. Fiat still exists, and but a world where everybody just starts using something like Monero, then that becomes truly disruptive.
I feel like if Monero, like Bitcoin, is just totally done. There's just no reason for Bitcoin whatsoever.
I'm sorry, you
if
cut
we
out.
can get the
Monero,
Lightning. Oh, I said if Monero can get a functional Lightning network, even like minimally functional, then I think Bitcoin is just done. Like there's no advantage that it offers that Monero doesn't already do. And then we've already got these contracts platforms that can do all the crazy fancy different constructions and all this other cool stuff, stablecoins or whatever. But if you just want to be hardcore digital cash, if Monero gets a Lightning network, forget about it. Like Bitcoin just has no reason for existence anymore.
Yeah. What did you think of those points we were making earlier? We're comparing Bitcoin to Ethereum in terms of Ethereum kind of eating Bitcoin's lunch as the number go up coin potentially.
Yeah, I think the flippening will definitely happen probably in the next few years, and it'll happen before people even realize, because if you count total value locked, then if you remove all the lost Bitcoin, which is somewhere between like 20-25%, so if you make these adjustments, you'll start to see that Ethereum is much closer to market cap parity than people realize. And it just does all this extra stuff that people really want and like. Like, for example, people keep talking about a stable or a CBDC coming for the United States, but I read the Federal Reserve exploratory white paper, and it was just a bunch of like, well, what if we could maybe do this, and what kind of features might we want? And then they were like, well, why don't you tell us? And here's a comment zone. So they're not really. It doesn't look like they're prepared to do a CBDC in the U.S. But what it does look like is happening. Fidelity and BlackRock, for example, have a big ownership stake in Circle that issues USDC. So the Federal Reserve itself isn't exactly federal. It has like a very small connection to the federal government, but it's really kind of a big consortium of bankers. So it would make a lot of sense for them to produce some kind of comprehensive legislation and regulatory framework for the stable coins, and then implement some kind of CBDC that's not really a CBDC. It's just private stable coins, but essentially it's kind of like corporate government public-private merger. And I think that's the direction that they're going. I think that we're going to see stablecoins really blow up, and all these contracts platforms like Ethereum that issue a whole bunch of stablecoins, hundreds of billions of them. I think that's the big push. I think this whole the last bull market was like a trial phase for distributed or decentralized exchanges, NFTs, Ethereum naming system, stablecoins, a whole bunch of other stuff too. And it basically worked, right? Because all this stuff didn't exist in the last bull market. So it basically worked. Like, it didn't crash and burn. So this is just the beginning. This was just round one of DeFi craziness, but they're going to expand it whenever the next bull market kicks off.
Bawdy, always good points, man. Always good points. Guys, I think we are running out of steam.
I'm like dying here. 2 hours and 30 minutes. Guys.
Somebody messaging me on the side that they found somebody that could potentially supply eggs for Gratuitous. That'd be amazing. We've been trying to get that. I've been getting eggs freshly delivered. Been trying to get them to accept Monero. Now I have a Amish farmer that I'm getting eggs, and I'm also getting dairy products from. I just got my first order a few days ago, and the dairy is actually, it's for dogs and cats. Actually, it's marketed as being for dogs and cats only because it's not pasteurized.
So Doug is a dog.
But I took a risk, and let me tell you, it's the most delicious kefir and yogurt I've ever tasted. Even though it's illegal to have, it's illegal contraband to be eating delicious, healthy, organic, unpasteurized dairy. So we're looking into I'm going to try to access this guy and get him to perhaps supply some of this stuff on Gratuitous. Would be amazing.
And with that, we're going to close out because
let's do it.
Doug can just talk forever.
Bawdy, you have anything else you want to say?
No, sir, not right now.
All right, but we'll see you next week.
Tony, Gonbatfire, any last words?
Just that. It's really important to work you do, guys, because you're right. I mean, this we have the tools now, but you won't be able to use it when shit hits the fan. I mean, I think Monero is inevitable in the sense that fiat collapse is inevitable. So people will have to learn one way or another. But it's important, to educate people and get as much people as you can into boat, I guess, before that happens. So it's really important, and I really appreciate your work and yeah.
Awesome, man. We appreciate your help.
My message is simple. If you like Monero, you need to like, subscribe, and share. Monerotopia, Monero Talk. If you want to find the links for what we talked, they're in the description. And yeah, it's been it's been a marathon, but
yeah.
And please let us know about the conference, like Mexico, Miami.
We got nine votes so far. So guys, vote. Now's your chance to speak your mind.
Yes, and fast, because we do need to put some money for the.
Well, we have to pay a
month.
deposit.
Yeah, the deposit. Yeah. So we kind of need to know soon as well. So do that, share, like, and we'll see you next time for more.
We'll see you next week. All right. Thank you, Bawdy. And we'll see Bawdy next week, right?
See y'all next week.
All
right, guys. Cheers.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you guys all for joining us.
Ciao.
We'll see you next week. Adios.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.